Yeah.
Right before PAX.
Yeah. Yeah. When was it? May? July? June? Yeah. Oh, hey, we should tweet this out. We should tweet out the link so people can actually watch.
Hello, everyone.
Nickmon1112 on Twitter. Follow me and make me feel like I'm not alone.
Okay, cool. Hey. I know, right? Yeah.
So is this stream demonetized already, or how does that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Excellent.
It sucks you have to guess.
Well, I mean, you're still gonna, you're still gonna have videos that are probably gonna get hit again, or yeah.
And by the time you get them reapproved, you'll be out ad revenue because no one watches a video past the first 48 hours or something.
Yeah. They're saying they can't hear you in the chat. They're saying they cannot hear Rags.
Really?
Someone spent $2 to say that.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It's probably your OBS settings. It's probably not.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I think it's his OBS is not picking up his mic. Yeah, probably. Oh shit.
Oh, it does that to me.
Introductions again. Yeah. What a clusterfuck. So, I mean, when you re-upload this thing later, you just have to cut out the first bit.
Let me go to properties.
Yeah, guys, we're going to get Rags' mic fixed.
Can we hear me now?
He's having OBS problems, so
OBS
just stand by.
All right, so yeah, OBS just decided that all of a sudden my mic didn't exist, and so I've been talking to just 3 other dudes for about a minute or so. So I'll clip that out. I'm sorry, because I had to restart my computer.
Okay, yeah,
I installed a new thing. But
yeah, they say they can hear you.
Yeah, so. Good. So there you go. I'm the PC gamer YouTuber who doesn't know how to operate PC, so that shouldn't be anything new for anybody. But to go ahead and restart here, really quick, we're watching a Matt Lee's presentation for Gamescom that happened about 3 or so weeks back, and it's too long. It's like 32 minutes. So instead of me doing a video on it, which would end up being 4 hours long, I thought we'd have a little shitlord style stream. And I have introduced, you know, I got Brad Glasgow here, and I got Nickmon, and I've got, that sounds Jamaican, Nickmon, and I've got Ian Miles
Nickmon.
Nickmon. Watching Matt Lee's. Matt Lee's has this video on YouTube, by the way. I'll link that later. But the comments are, of course, disabled, and Matt Lee's has blocked me on Twitter because he wants to start a discussion, and that's how you start discussions.
Yeah, by hanging out your ideological safe space and not talking to anybody.
But basically, I've got a bunch of money for not being able to be heard. So next stream will start out with me muted, so I could squeeze every last dollar out of you guys. But quick update.
You tweeted it out?
Yeah, I did tweet it out. Absolutely, I did.
Okay, I will just retweet you.
Yeah, try that.
Now, man.
But quick update, I guess you didn't hear it because of the mic issue, but I had demonetization wave did hit my channel, and I've submitted reviews, and so far all the manual reviews have approved my videos. So far I'm 4 for 4 for the big ones at least, and hopefully things will go okay with that. It's just that's a load off my mind, and also my copyright strike is gone from the or the DMCA was gone from the music for the tutorial of Cuphead for the last video, so we're good. So I've got the slides here, and we can start, and this is the slides for this presentation, and where do you think would be a good place to start here?
I'd say do an intro.
Yeah, do an intro.
All right, let's
Talk about what cultural complicity is.
His first slide says cultural complicity is
Hello.
everyone's problem. It's not.
Oh god, that's loud. Thank you so much for coming. I really wasn't sure if anyone would come, so this is already really pleasant. Today I'm going to be talking about cultural complicity. It's everyone's problem, which is fun, obviously. But the first thing I want to talk about is basically a lot of the time whenever you start talking about cultural politics, people kind of sigh and roll their eyes. And I think it's really important just to, I'm sure lots of people here might know this, but lots of people you talk to don't. It doesn't have to feel like work, you know? I mean, but it is work.
And that mentality is what destroys any sort of hope you have.
either it's
What
go ahead, Brad.
What I love about this is here is a game journalist who has no qualifications for anything whatsoever other than he plays video games and presents some silly videos about them, and he has really awful hair. And he is standing there at a convention in Germany. I believe it's Germany.
Yeah.
Pretending to be important.
And he's talking to, I guess they're game developers actually sitting there in that audience, telling them they should do more work. Even though he has no idea about the game's business and what sells and what doesn't, because hardly anyone knows. Yeah. You know, he has no special expertise here, but here he is saying, you guys should do more work because, and he says, it's just the way the wind is blowing. For profit stuff is just, it's not right.
Then the thing that's so strange is that to gamers, he's basically saying you need to work to not like things.
Yes. You know, the funny thing is he would be like a movie critic going to, say, the Academy, right, and speaking before all these huge directors, you know, talking to, people like Martin Scorsese or people like J.J. Abrams and telling them, the movies that you make, they're wrong, and you're going to make them my way, the way I want you to make them. Imagine the audacity of it. Imagine the obnoxiousness. How fucking obnoxious is this fucking guy? You know.
And
there's two huge oversights. The first is Brad and Ian are both right. He doesn't consider the economic side as much as he should have. And secondly, he doesn't consider the medium as something that can have more than one viewpoint.
Well, all these guys are anti-capitalist, you notice. Like, capitalism is bad for so many of these people. It's strange how they tie themselves in with industries like this, and then they're like, by the way, capitalism's totes bad.
Yeah.
And he shoves that one point of view down this audience's throat throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was...
Yeah, in my video, that was one of the main points I've seen. One of the main characteristics of the social... I don't much like the social justice warrior term, but, I mean, these people are social justice supporters. And the primary characteristic of that they all share is that they really don't like capitalism very much. They believe that capitalism is the source of systemic racism, sexism, transphobia, all that stuff. So they're not very fond of capitalism, and he's giving a conference to people who are making video games presumably for profit.
Yeah, look, these guys totally wouldn't at all be farmers in a socialist country. So they would be card-carrying party members. It would be great.
You know, people like
responsibility when embraced is empowering, not annoying. Okay, the thing is, Matt doesn't take what he dishes out. He wants to give responsibility to everyone else and not accept any of it for himself.
Like, he's just a critic, right? He's just a critic.
And as someone who's look, this is the problem I have with Angry Joe too. He's a critic who cannot accept criticism, and that just I mean, that's not how it works. That's a two-way street. If you're going to criticize something, you got to be open to people criticizing you. I mean, Matt Lees has me blocked on Twitter. The comments are disabled for this video on YouTube. The comments are disabled for a lot of his YouTube videos.
But he wants a conversation,
yeah,
though.
he wants to start a
apparently.
discussion. This is how you start.
Yeah, within
really-
his ideological safe space, of course.
The really bad thing here, though, is that people actually listen to him, and you will see game developers on Twitter. Well, you know, when this happened, and they'll link to the video and say, "Hey, yeah, this was an interesting speech." And you know, of course, game developers tend to be on the left side of the political spectrum a little bit, so they are a little bit sympathetic to this.
Yeah,
But
they're willing to listen.
We really have to speak up. You know,
You have to.
It'd be nice to just say, you know what, this guy's an idiot. Stop listening to him, which
the
is
problem
probably
with-
right. But you have
problem
to
with
speak up
people like him.
themselves.
Yeah, the problem with people like him is they you know, these communists. If I were to go on a little small tangent for a moment, is that they don't believe crimes happen in socialist or communist societies. They think that things like theft and murder and rape are all elements of the capitalist society.
Yeah, if you don't respect, if people don't have private property, then how can you steal?
Exactly, that's what they think, right? And these, you know, if you actually read on how the Soviets handled it, they didn't think that murder existed. They thought that murder was just a capitalist illness, like a mental illness restricted to capitalist society. So they didn't even have like a police department investigating homicides. You know, they actually made a movie about that, starring
I had no idea
the guy
about that, actually.
Yeah, it's starring the guy who plays Bane, Tom what's his name?
Hardy.
Tom
Hardy, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's a great movie. You know, it's about one of the first serial killers in Soviet Russia, and
Stalin?
it was after. Yeah, it was no, like an you know, like a sociopath,
like a
type
proper.
serial killer.
Okay, I got it. When
Yeah.
he works from the bottom up. Some people work from the top. Yeah,
Right.
that's
He was killing children and you know, raping them and stuff like that, and no one wanted to deal with it because to admit that this guy existed meant that the socialist or communist system was failing. So you know, this guy took it into his own hands to basically investigate, and that's why, you know, he brought some changes to the Soviet government to essentially be like, yeah, this is untenable. I mean, you
Changed
obviously
communism to make murder exist.
yeah,
It's
essentially.
that systems of absolutes that he tries to use in this presentation. Rags, I see you skipped ahead a bit to something called grout versus cement.
Well, I wanted to get the slide right behind it. The grout comes in many flavors, so I wanted to lead into that.
Well, basically, he says in Grout versus Cement that there's two types of video games that are casual and hardcore in terms of the void that games fill. And it's that sort of comparison of two different things that sucks out the nuance of the conversation, which
Of course.
goes against what he says is his point. I'm sorry. Feel free
I
to
guess I don't
continue.
have to share my screen if you're all in the watch together, so there you go. I'm triple checking myself because I don't know how microphones work apparently. So we can check this where he goes into mobile and casual and all that.
Grout comes in many flavors, though. Don't eat grout. And one of the things I think is really interesting now is the fact that I don't really think there's a meaningful difference between mobile phone games and social media.
Oh my god! Did you really just say that?
There's no meaningful difference between mobile games and social media.
So that big fuss he made about trolling, I mean, that his side made about trolling,
Hey, it's
is
just
that
a
even
game. It's just a
It's
game.
just a game,
It's
bro.
a game.
It's just a game.
Social media. It's just you can treat it like I understand by saying that you can treat it like a game to get likes and followers and
Sure.
essentially
I
level up
agree
your
with
pro.
that.
Yeah,
It's
sure, fair enough.
gamification, right?
But-
Gamification of social media.
To say
Some
there's
people
no
certainly
meaningful
do treat it as a game.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. Yeah.
I mean, look
you
at
know,
Milo.
it's
He's good
not,
at it.
yeah, it's true. It's not
The
the
difference
ideal
between a video
situation.
game-
though.
The difference between a video game and real life is if it's in a video game, if you say, I'm going to kill you to someone, then nothing happens. But if you say that on social media, you get the cops at your door. Matt Lee, you dumb motherfucker.
That's pretty rough. So let's see.
I think
What
they're
does he
both
say?
just things that engage us temporarily and allow us to feel like something's happening while we're on our way to work or waiting for lunch. Or maybe you were waiting before this talk started and you just thought, I'll do something on my phone.
Okay, pause.
right.
What about jerking off? Is jerking off a
Jerking
game?
off is it's a mobile game. I can do it anywhere. It's always at I take my dick with me wherever I go.
Play some pocket Tetris.
But look,
you know?
look at his reasoning is basically that it's just like a distraction. I mean, if
Up,
that's
up, down,
that's
down,
how he
left,
compares
right,
the
left,
two.
right.
I mean, is that all that it takes? Is that the qualifier?
I don't really think there's a meaningful difference between mobile phone games and social media. I think they're both just things that engage us temporarily.
They're just things that engage us temporarily. I mean, that's the qualifier for a mobile game.
Such a shallow way to look at things. I mean, there are many things that define social media versus many things that define a mobile game. You can't just say, oh yeah, it's just this one thing. It just engages us temporarily. In that case, I can say that eating a snack is playing a mobile game. I can say that jerking off is playing a mobile game. That's ridiculous.
And making that comparison between social media and video games, that's how they want to paint the same brush over these two things with their ideology.
Yeah.
By making that comparison, they think they can gentrify both things at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they want to combine everything.
The obvious difference is, of course, the social media possesses huge consequences potentially for things that you do and say.
Yes.
So just to even, I mean, one is in a way, social media in a strange way is far more hardcore than any mobile game could ever be, because it has real world implications. The things you say, especially nowadays with every, a witch hunt happening every hour over everything that's said about anybody at any time. Yep. I mean, it's a lot more hardcore in the sense of just playing a phone game.
It is an endless loop of insanity.
Let's see.
Round and round we go.
Feel like something's happening while we're on. And I mean, there's some interesting stuff going on. Like Binky here is an app which is basically was a joke, and it's a social media app that you can download if you've got an iPhone or an iPad. That it does nothing. It just gives you pictures of stuff like leaves or a hippo, and then you can tap on it and you like it and you can write comments that no one will ever read. It's completely disconnected from anything. And yet,
like you.
What the person who made.
To be fair, I've never heard of Binky before.
I've never heard of it either. Probably something that his friend made.
Maybe it's because he doesn't sound like he has like an American accent, so maybe it's a more foreign thing. I don't know.
No,
I'm sure
British.
sure someone in the comments will say, "Oh, you don't know about fucking Binky? Binky's the best thing ever. I'm on Binky all the time." Like,
I have never heard of Binky.
I've never heard of Binky, but it sounds fun. I would name.
Here's a problem with a lot of these social justice warriors, right? And I love calling them that. Whenever they make references, they'll talk about something that no one else knows about, that us plebs are unaware of, so that they can feel like somehow superior. Like they're the only person in the room who knows what they're talking about. It's just a thing that they do. They make weird references that no one else understands, and they don't even explain what it is.
So Binky's a pretty cool app. You've probably never heard about it.
They're like hipsters, So if you ask what the deal is, they'll look at you like you're an idiot.
Binky sounds like a pacifier, which means if he likes pacifiers, he's a child.
Made it found was.
Oh well, by the way, Ian, the guy, what's his name, William Turton.
Yeah,
I believe his name is. He never really explained how you recruited a 4-year-old.
No, he never did he? He just
said because you linked them. You linked them in a tweet, that means you recruited them. And then he started joking around about lawyers and things. So I just want to let you know that Gaming Journal, he's like, if you're going to write about how terrible Gamergate is, don't slander people in the article. Don't do unethical things in the article that you're trying to defame Gamergate in. Pro tip, and I'm not even in the biz, you can keep that one for free to the bank and smoke it.
Just as engaging and satisfying as going on Facebook. And loads of people love it. And so at that point, you've really got to question, like...
Again, I think that's another weak qualifier for, it's a mobile.
What are we actually doing when we're, like, on Facebook or Twitter? Are we actually, like, keeping in touch with friends or keeping in touch with news? Or is it...
No, Matt, we're blocking people on Twitter, Matt, is what we're doing. We're blocking people on Twitter. Let me go.
What does he think people use it for? Of course I use it to keep in touch with friends.
Let me. I don't know what his Twitter. Jam Sponge. He's Jam Sponge on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Jam_Sponge. I think.
Jam_Sponge. You are blocked from following Jam Sponge and viewing Jam Sponge tweets.
Of course.
Because he wants to start a discussion, but not with me. He wants to start a discussion. It's just like Feminist Frequency and Steve Shives and all that. You only wanted to start a discussion with people who agree with you in the first place.
Credit to Kevin Logan for actually talking to people.
Oh yeah, I mean Kevin Logan's not. He's a couple prongs short of a pitchfork. That's a weird thing to say, but he at least he goes on live streams. It's like I haven't watched this.
At least he talks to people.
Sargon just did a stream with ContraPoints, right?
Yeah,
it's like at least
people need to understand that blocking doesn't mean the person doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
And
Like,
the
the
whole
only
block
time-
and mock thing, oh, fuck people who do that. That's one of the most cowardly things in the world.
Like, the only time I block people is if they are deliberately trolling, right? They're insulting everybody in my mentions, basically derailing every conversation that I'm having. Let's say I'm talking to Lacey Green, and then this guy is just constantly replying to both of us and just trashing us. Of course I'm going to block him, you know? He's just being a fucking nuisance.
Bloody blocked me too.
Oh. But you know, I'm not gonna block anyone who's interested in having a conversation. If they're doing it in good faith, I will talk to them. You know, even if I disagree with them.
Oh, feminist.
It's called
Frequency hasn't blocked me.
moderation.
Yeah, she hasn't blocked me either. Strange.
Yeah, I'm good. Feminist
There's a lot of Steve Shives alt accounts. I gotta check, make sure I'm still. Of course, I'm blocked by Steve Shives. Why would I not be blocked by Steve Shives?
He blocks everybody.
He blocks everybody. Yeah.
Just a feedback loop. And you know, I worked on a TV show a few years ago with Charlie
loops. Now we're talking about feedback loops, Mr. Block. Anyone who disagrees with me, I'm trying to start a discussion.
Brooker, who now does like really cool things. I'm not involved.
Oh,
in
look
it
at me!
all,
I can reference
I did a TV show about
Charlie
video
Brooker.
games with him.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about when we were trying to think about the video games that were most influential in history,
Right, his
the one
coattails.
he demanded was at number one. He was a big boss man, so there was no arguing anyway. But he demanded number one be Twitter, and it was something that even
So
when we
it's
were in
not
the
even
meeting
your
rooms,
idea,
I
you
was
dipshit.
like, well, I don't know. I mean, Twitter's not really a video game, and when it came out on the TV
No.
in the UK, a lot of
Well, of course it's not a video game.
No, it's not. How is it a video game?
I mean, you could treat it like one, but it can be. You could treat it like one. You could play on it like it is one. But again, the level of consequences in real life that come from it do not a video game make.
You can get a job from Twitter, or you can lose a job from Twitter.
I mean, it's this
Pretty
Jack
great.
Thompson sort of argument to let's equate video games to reality.
Yeah.
And I mean, robbing a bank, it's just like a video game, except for the part where you get shot, die, or sent to prison. And but other than that, it's the same thing, right?
people.
You're not
were really
playing
annoyed.
Payday
They were
2?
like,
No, of course not. Payday 2 is really, I mean, Payday 2.
That's a great game.
Is bad.
Twitter is not a video game. You cannot say Twitter is one of the most influential video games in the world. It's Mario or, you know, whatever. But now I agree. It's taken me 4 years, but I completely agree. Twitter.
I mean,
No.
No.
Yes,
No.
a video game is Mario. No, a video game is not Twitter. You know.
I don't think that's true.
This
at all. I
is
think
why
that's
we.
very
This
false
is why
equivalence.
words have definitions. This is why
Yeah.
words have definitions and they mean things. You dummy.
So it's one of the most addictive
No, you're right.
and least good.
Well, we know that they can redefine words at whim. That's why sexism is
absolutely.
power plus privilege or whatever the hell it needs to be for
Right,
this
yeah.
moment.
Games in
Women
the world.
cannot be sexist.
Nope.
But let's talk about Grant a little bit more. So I think that we have this weird compulsion to fill every moment of our lives now with stuff. And I think where this comes from is kind of complicated. I don't think it's necessarily to say that, like, obviously you have to accept the fact that these things are really addictive. Like mobile phone games and social media things are designed to create feedback loops that are addictive. But I also kind of wonder if
You know, hearing people agree with you can be addictive too, Matt.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes the thrill you get of having people say, "I totally agree, you're the best thing ever," that's not necessarily good for you if that's all you hear.
No, it's not. It creates what do you call it? Bias.
Yeah, it does, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy.
You have to get out of your ideological echo chamber. You got to have a person telling you, "Dude, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot." You know, every once in a while. Constructive criticism.
You need it. You've got to have it, and that's one of the people ask me all the time on like Discord and Twitter for advice of making YouTube channels, and all I
Where
can
does
say
our reality come from?
is, it comes from. Like, we can hear him talk about where does our reality come from. That should be fun. If anyone is qualified to tell us what is and isn't grounded in reality, it's
Yeah, the most out of touch motherfucker right now, and he's gonna tell us about reality.
He's gonna tell.
Come on,
has
Mr.
very real
existentialist.
and rarely positive consequences. So it's okay for a while, but the longer you're doing it, the more likely you're going to start having some issues. I mean, this is the point where you have to get a bit like, where does reality even come from? Like, this is some sort of Opti project, which is the
Where does our reality even really come from? Where does it even really? What is reality? What is real?
I see. I think therefore I am. You know, Corgi or some.
And don't worry, guys. I will get to the super chats here. I want to roll through a bit, and then we'll have breaks, and I'll get to them. But do not worry; they are not being missed.
to do with mapping out internet networks. Back in the early days, it just looked quite nice. Psychological research into social norms, into understanding how society works, how we work. A lot of this was done back in, you know, the 60s, 70s or earlier. And it was just, it cannot even account for modern technology, like the internet. Like, the internet was not built to be a place where people live. It's kind of like a ghetto in a weird way, because like, it's not the fault of the people who design things like comment sections, but no one ever really thought that people were going to live there. And now we do, and it's awful.
So, okay,
I like how he implies here that if you're in that everyone in the ghetto did not get there through any fault of their own.
Okay, comment sections are not the entire internet. No, for one.
Well,
and he just defined it as that.
He doesn't frequent the comments. I mean, there's no comment section. There's no comment section on his YouTube video for what we're watching right now. So, no ghettos on this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He would have such a strong point. He would have such a strong point if he didn't block his comment sections. He could say that each comment section is like an ideological echo chamber. You know, whoever has the dominant conversation points is probably going to dominate the conversation, obviously.
Yeah, it's the way that Facebook and Twitter kind of feeds you towards things you're already interested in, and so people, just through the way that these social media systems work, they want to show you things that you already agree with. People like to see things they already agree with, but it's not really good for you. And then when you finally come across somebody you disagree with, you think it's outlandish that someone could even dare oppose you in some way, and that leads to blocking and muting and no discussion.
There is...
In Matt Lee's defense, the one point he does bring up that is good is that we have no fucking clue what the internet is and how to use it. We're just making the best.
Yeah, we're wrestling with it. I agree with that. To kill now. I mean, it's not going away. Yeah, it's too much of our
society. Goldman Sachs of technology.
You're just gonna have to deal with it as you personally can, as best you can.
Fast that it's impossible for psychology to even keep up with these things. And in a few years' time, we're probably going to look back on this period of history and go, what were we thinking?
Oh, so you know, interesting fact. You know, back in the 1900s, a person could live an entire lifetime and only get as much information for that entire lifetime as they do in a single day today. Oh, that is it. Yeah, that's an interesting fact, isn't it?
I mean, back in the medieval ages, I mean, a peasant would never leave, 10 miles away from where he was born. I mean, stuff like that. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but it's just
something like that. Yeah,
they would write science fiction stories about the internet, having this unprecedented level of access to the sum of all human knowledge just at your fingertips. And the internet. I mean, I'm 25, so I sort of was growing up as the internet was in a way. But I didn't really get unrestricted access to the internet until I went to college. So it's a mind-blowing thing. All of a sudden, you have this huge hub of socialization.
There's all this information in front of us, and yet people are willfully ignorant on what is out there and how to use it and how to interpret it.
It's shame. People ask questions all the time. So like they'll ask me a question, or I'll see it on a forum or something. Like, what does such and such mean? It's like, you went on the internet to ask what a definition was. It's like,
just use Google.
Google it. And I mean, even the lexicon we're using now, Google means to look up something. Yeah. If you want to, you Google it. You go onto the internet and you find out what it is. It's strange.
I read an article from like 2007, and it said, "Is the internet making us dumber?" And the idea was that using Google, we stop thinking for ourselves, right? That was the premise of the argument. But in the years since then, there have been multiple rebuttals to it. And the idea is that no, it's actually making us smarter because we don't have to worry about the nitty-gritty details, like the useless shit that you need to Google up. What we do know nowadays is actually much more important because Googling helps us to get the information that we actually seek. Like we don't have to memorize, say, a mathematical code, just to get an answer. Like, why do you need to learn math, like advanced math, just to do some mathematics if you can just use a calculator? What you want is the result of it. So Google, if anything, is a tool. Just like, I mean, you can argue, yeah, it'd be nice if I could, lift weights and like lift up, 500 pounds with my arms. But what if I could just use a fucking, a lever, or a pulley or something? Wouldn't that be better? Wouldn't that allow me to create and produce more efficiently? Yes. So Google, like anything else, is a tool. It's actually making us more efficient as a human race.
The thing is, you still need to be a human operator. You can have a bunch of construction equipment, but if you're drunk at the wheel, then you're just going to run that construction equipment into a wall, and it's going to be a big mess.
James Damore did a poll on his Twitter a couple days, about three or so days ago. He said, to civilize and humanize how we interact online, will human culture or the underlying technology need to change? And I was the first vote, boy. But I voted human culture. I think culture is going to be more important in that aspect. It's how we interact with the technology we've got. Because good luck making the technology go away. That's not happening.
Technology's not going to go away.
It's how we raise people and how people behave with the technology that you do have.
Yep. The singularity is going to happen whether we like it or not. So we have to be prepared as, from the biological side of it. Because otherwise, we're going to be left behind. I mean, the humans among us who are able to use the technology the way it's meant to be used, who know how to use it smart, they're going to be ahead. Everybody else, though, they're going to be left behind.
I'm not going to worry about dying of old age, because I figure by the time I'm an old guy, technology will have figured that shit out.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people who are denied the opportunity to grow old, so I suppose I'll count my blessings.
Mm-hmm. This is what I mean, the roller coaster. Talked about games a bit. Now I'm going to talk very briefly about what happened in 2014.
Oh shit, here we go.
I was invited here today because I wrote a big thing about Gamergate and the connections between that and the alt-right and the kind of fascist movements in the US. And
ooh boy, this is getting juicier. Every sentence is just brimming.
Beyond. Effectively, I'm not going to go into any detail on this because the people who have...
Because then people would show how wrong I am. Don't worry, Neverland. I'm sort of keeping up with chat here. I want to get to a point, and then we'll take a break, and I'll go through that stuff. But I'm definitely reading the chat.
Victims of this
deserve to be... He's so ignorant about this very, very critical point, because it kind of is the catalyst for the rest of his presentation. It's very telling that he just kind of, vaguely just mumbles about it and then goes on.
He's trying to play on the audience's ignorance of it, because the audience is probably going to be even more ignorant of Gamergate than he is, because most people do not keep up with Gamergate drama. They don't understand the details of it.
Not. I think Gamergate is just this boogeyman that they could pull out of the closet whenever they need it. It's this buzzword that people don't really understand it for the most part. I think it's just sort of it's about associating Gamergate with negative thoughts and about harassment and the alt-right and fascism and just all this garbage nonsense that doesn't have any grounds in reality. But hey, where does reality really come from? So there you go.
Yeah.
Tell us, Matt Lee.
Yeah, tell us what.
And that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems with Gamergate too. Is it's not just something you can just sum up in a tweet or something, in this little sound bite. So people don't want to devote all that time to understanding it. And if you don't devote at least a little time to it, you're certainly not going to understand, anything with it. So. People want the soundbite, and Gamergate doesn't lend itself well to the soundbite, so that's
it makes it difficult. He's saying the video is basically just replace the disenfranchised Gamergaters with Tumblrites.
You summed it up.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
By the way,
video gone. Okay, guys, see you later.
I'll see you guys later. Let me read the super chats, and I'll go home and have a wank. Mobile game. It's my favorite mobile game. Also, subscribe to Applemandy's really good channel.
Able to
and by the way, I did see Bunty in the chat, so hello.
Hello, Bunty.
Say hello.
live their lives and have successes without being defined as victims all the time. The people who were...
You're one to fucking talk.
The aggressors and the abusers, they just want attention, so screw it. The wide thing that's important about this is it started off with a man harassing a woman on the internet. There were claims of impropriety. They were just unbelievably debunked very quickly.
No,
like 2-3 days.
There were claims of ethical impropriety that were absolutely true, and that's one of the biggest failings of people.
This is it's a level of disconnect between the reality. I don't understand. This is why Matt Lee's is so frustrating, because he will look you straight in the eye and just be like, "Yes, the sky is yellow." It just doesn't. All the fact, and I had a little Gamergate discussion in the last video I made, kind of talking about it because Zoe Quinn's name popped up. But the basis that really kicked off Gamergate in this way was absolutely justified. There was absolutely improprieties and ethical violations, and they got called out on it. And they got called out on it finally in a big way. And that's how it got shifted to, oh, you're criticizing a woman, you must be a misogynist.
That's how they shut it down. That's how they attempted to shut it down.
I could give you a crash course in Gamergate in like 20 seconds. So you had, you know, Zoe Quinn, and you got Nathan Grayson, and then you got the Zoe post. That got people, you know, looking into this whole thing. And then when everyone was looking into this whole thing, and then Reddit and YouTube and Twitter, they were like, stuff was happening on them. And then when everyone's attention was piqued, that's when Milo Yiannopoulos revealed the Game Journal Pros thing and cemented Gamergate as a movement.
That was insane how it was. I mean, they're games journalism, and you saw it with the Cuphead footage, how they all banded together behind this guy.
They all tried to shut it down, right?
Yeah,
they made it about, they said, oh, this is harassment. You're actually harassing us.
And this was their chance. This was the gaming journalist community's chance to get on the gamer side, and they blew
but instead they chose to, chose to circle the wagons and buddy up with their buddies. That doesn't make any sense.
What really cemented the Gamergate movement was before then was actually, it was the Gamers Are Over, Gamers Are Dead articles.
Yeah, that was a response to the Zoe Quinn thing, because that was their attempt to shut down the conversation. Narrative.
What I tell people is the Zoe post was a spark, and then people wanted to talk about the Zoe post because it was a scandal. It was a salacious scandal. It's an interesting scandal. Hey, did this game developer sleep around for reviews? You know, that's a question people wanted to answer. They wanted to talk about. Yeah. And so that's a little fire right there. Yeah. And then they had the Gamers Are Over articles, like was it a dozen of them that hit in 24, 48 hours,
what's
and
that just poured coincidence that they all just
Brad, I disagree. Yeah. Brad, I'm pretty sure that they would have put a lid on it and written it off as a coincidence. Eventually, they would have found a way to shut people up, and the Game Journal Pros thing made those fears that people had a reality.
Because that was a thing that existed, right? It had momentum because they were shutting things down. They were banning people on NeoGAF. NeoGAF did a full purge of anyone who wasn't a social justice warrior. Reddit's r/gaming, r/games. They suspended all discussion of Gamergate. They said that this is a harassment of game journalists. That's how they shifted the narrative. The Gamers Are Dead articles, they didn't even mention Zoe Quinn by name. Like they chose not to. They wanted to make it seem like this was an industry-wide problem with gamers. So they attacked gamers in general, and of course, anyone who's just playing a video game is like suddenly, thinking, "What the fuck?" Right? And that's when it blew up.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying the Game Journal Pros didn't come out until about I think it was about 3 weeks till after Gamergate was until Adam Baldwin spawned Gamergate. Yeah. The hashtag
hashtag, but you got to have fuel to a fire to keep it going, Brad.
Yeah, but it wasn't a simple hashtag. It was a hashtag that had legs. I mean, it was trending for several days.
Where did those legs come from?
Yeah, the Gamers Are Over articles and the censorship.
Yeah.
Really, it's just the details of where certain breaking points were.
Yeah, there were multiple aspects to it, and it was a constant ongoing thing. And even before Gamergate happened, there was all that stuff with Juanita Sarkeesian. People were upset that this was some cultural critic that everybody was giving so much attention to.
Gamers were ultimately getting, like, that's where it was for me, is like, you're getting sick of your identity being trashed and tarnished. You get sick of you get sick of being called a sexist and a racist, and he's just outright saying, just linking him to the alt-right and fascism, and that's absolutely ridiculous. He says these words, they come out of his mouth, and it doesn't strike him as strange at all. He doesn't pause a beat. Fascism. No. It's got to be fascism.
Fascism.
Now,
that's what Gamergate is. Fascism, alt-right, Trump. Whoa, it's...
And they hate
women. Adam Baldwin is a Russian agent working for the KGB and Putin.
And someone said in the chat something really good. Gamergate was all about women until... Gamergate was all about women until Dean Takahashi's playthrough, and then it wasn't all about women anymore. So, so Gamergate is it's so they keep it so amorphous and ambiguous. It's that ghost in a dream, this threat you can just name, and it can be whatever you need it to be. But,
that's my my book on Gamergate is titled "The Villains of the Internet" because they're a perfect villain.
Because you can horrible people.
Yeah, you guys are. I mean, this is false. Yeah. You can be called Bernie Bros by one person, and you can be called alt-right fascist by the same person, Brianna Wu, of course.
Of course.
So it's an amazing, interesting movement.
We have lots of far-right people, lots of opportunists just looking to get more influence. And it was kind of dismissed internally and externally, and then, oh no, about a year later, we suddenly sort of, all this madness that didn't seem to make any sense started.
Well, yeah, it doesn't. If you call people if you call Gamergate fascists, your level of the ability, your ability to make sense of things, I don't know exactly where that is.
And the thing I get with these people, is that they never, anyone who will talk to me about, I'll tell them you're wrong about Gamergate. He's a journalist mainly. They'll write about Gamergate, and I've asked of hundreds of journalists, have you ever had a full conversation with a Gamergate supporter? And it's invariably no.
No,
they haven't.
There's no comments. He blocks on Twitter. I can't be wrong. And if the Gamergaters tell me otherwise, it can't be true.
Yeah. So my thing is always, how can you understand Gamergate if you haven't talked to people who support Gamergate?
It was on Law and Order in like February 2015. That's like the exact opposite of Dismissed.
Yeah, fuck.
That's the exact opposite of Dismissed.
That was one of the best TV shows I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
Eric Kane got it right. It was the what was that pop movie, the marijuana movie?
Pineapple Express?
Yeah, Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness.
That's the kind of comedy.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, he called that the Reefer Madness of video games, and that's the perfect description.
It really is. I don't know if you guys in chat remember, but there was that. It was CSI, right? Or was it Law and Order? Which one was it? I remember
Law and Order SVU.
They're interchangeable. They're all the same thing. But that was the anti-Gamergate episode. Let's just be frank.
Yeah,
this was what it was.
Yeah, Retchan it.
And I bet the people who wrote that knew about what they wanted to write about, and the execs and producers didn't know anything about this internet stuff, and they just greenlit it, and boom, it went through, and that's probably how that's how it happened.
Paul. Yeah. No, seriously, Logan Paul is the main character in that one.
It played off. It played off of the perception of gamers being a bunch of angry kids online.
Yeah. Thanks, Logan Paul.
Thanks, Logan.
We're all Logan Pauls.
Logan Paul's and Matt Lee's. That's what you get the streams here.
Started appearing in the wider world on a more prominent level. However, a really important caveat that I have to make, because every time I talk about this stuff, people go, it didn't, like, Gamergate didn't cause the alt-right. It didn't cause fascism in America.
See, what he's talking about here is that he himself published what was a pretty big article in The Guardian, which said that Gamergate is the canary in the coal mine that led to Donald Trump. And so what he's kind of trying to cover his ass here and say,
backpedaling and saying, well, it did cause it, but come on,
at least fucking pussy.
Oh
boy, it's. I mean, you're right though. It's just you can just talk to one of them, right?
Yeah, but he chooses not to.
You can just like sit down with someone who says I support Gamergate, and you can ask him.
He's like one of those really religious people who just really believes.
Is Matt Lee's really religious?
I mean, he's religious as a social justice warrior.
Yeah, it's basically a religion. I mean,
Cheong is just referring to it metaphorically.
Yeah, the idea is that if they were to speak to an unbeliever, then they will be tainted by their evil, sinful ideas, and then they will have to go seek penance by whipping themselves on the back or something. So they choose not to speak to unbelievers or apostates, because that might.
And what are you going to tell them if you look a Gamergator straight in the eye and they tell you this is about ethics in video game journalism, and here's all the things that have happened that are unethical and dishonest, and how we can see an agenda, and we don't like that. We don't like these hidden agendas and some more obvious agendas. That's not what we like. It is about ethics in video game journalism. And what would he say? You're lying. That's not really what it's about to you.
Yeah, that's what he would say.
ISIS isn't really about Islam. It's one of those things.
Yeah. There was a video game journalism conference called Airplay that happened like a year after Gamergate started. So objectively, it was about ethics in game journalism because they gathered enough momentum together to actually put that thing on through hell and high water.
Yep.
The typical response to that question is that the actions of Gamergate do not support its claims that it's about ethics in journalism. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's what their typical reaction.
Yeah.
Because they got it, because it went from just ethics to it focused on the core of those ethics were the push for social justice that started to become a lot more mainstream. The feminist frequencies.
And to be fair to people, it is complicated.
It is,
for for Gamergate supporters, what they believe is that the ethics is tied to the social justice ideology, and that is the reason for the lack of the ethics, is because they're trying to push this ideology on people. So
we can get past the Gamergate thing. The thing is, it's like it's kind of like Antifa was in a way, and Black Lives Matter was in a way, in the sense that there was no core leadership, there was no voice of it, there was no head man, there was no official statement of the movement. It was a broad thing at first, and then it got more defined as time went on about what they were about. And you would think that as it got more defined, that they would react to the definitions of what they were about. But hey, if the most damaging image that they had was of the earlier days, and that's kind of what they clung to. They didn't adapt to Gamergate, and that's a problem. It's like white supremacy. It's like all this other stuff. It's like you could ignore it as long as you can. You can ignore it and not talk about it as long as you want. But eventually, when you do that and you push them away, there's going to be a breaking point. It's going to come out somewhere, and that's kind of, it's somewhat you could be to blame for that. But
the definition of political dialogue and actually having a conversation in a debate is willing to be flexible enough and willing to adapt enough and not be a brazen hard ass that only takes one side.
Gamergate caused the Ice Age. Gamergate gave the chat's great. Where's my mouse? I have so much real estate here. Let's see. Gamergate gave my dad 3 years of chemo and tore my family apart. Yeah, it's great. Gamergate caused white supremacy. And you know what? You say that jokingly, but
they actually argue with that.
I mean, there you go. So let's get through this whole thing here about Gamergate. The long tail of, he talks about the White House here. Gamergate, Breitbart, the alt-right, and the White House, because gotta drag Trump into everything, you know.
Let's play this.
All right, let me get to right before he talks about this. Meme gold in the making.
Saw it. Having said that, there really were some very strong connections, as I wrote in the article, and you can give it a read if you want. But, you know, Gamergate was largely fueled by a website called Breitbart, which was run by Steve Bannon, who then was a big part in the kind of growing the alt-right and gaining a lot of people under this banner, including Gamergate and other people, which then, of course, ended up basically being literally in the White House, and he only got kicked out this week. And even then, I think the damage is kind of already done. So we had this movement that was internally within the games industry, sidelined. We've got a horrible tendency in the games industry that whenever anyone calls out for respect or things to be better, it's treated as being drama, like it's a playground, and that's really disappointing. And
I just, the hypocrisy of doing this as with your name is Matt Lees, talking about respect and talking about open dialogue. It's I don't think I've ever spoken to Matt Lees at all. Tweeted at him, messaged him, any of that. And I just went to his profile one day on Twitter. I was like, what's he talking about today? He's like, I've been blocked. I've been preemptively blocked for my wrong think, I suppose.
Of course.
And externally outside of games, it was just ignored, because basically it just confirmed what everyone always thought about video games anyway. You know, it's just a bunch of toxic losers who live in their...
Well, no, it wasn't what Gamergate did. It was about what people said Gamergate was.
And that's two very different things. If you say Gamergate was a bunch of different things, and then Gamergate actually did a bunch of different things, that's two completely different cans of worms, and he's trying to sell the former rather than explain the latter.
You know what bugs me about this thing is where he's actually shitting on gamers right here. Right now. He's saying that, oh yeah, gamers are a bunch of toxic losers who live in a mom's basement.
It. Gamergate confirmed what people outside of... First off, I'm not particularly concerned that much with people outside gaming.
Yeah, I don't care, right? But the fact that he is in video games and he is ostensibly a gamer and he's saying this, it's like it tells
without even thinking about it.
He has such a shame about the label of being a gamer. Like he's a fucking nerd, right? He's a fucking loser, that he's so ashamed of who he is that he needs to shit on his own people, right? So that he can fit in with a cool kids club.
Yeah. So,
and it was that it was that massive realization among a populace all at once is how this whole dynamic started that we have today. That's the real long tail of all of this. How the internet was able to basically correlate itself across these different communities and pockets and come together with ideas, finally breaking through these sorts of barriers that Matt Lees himself set up. Whew.
So
Said that all in one breath.
So we'll try to hightail through the Gamergate bit because he says some great stuff as we go along. But let me go ahead and get out to the super chats. I've been paying attention to the chat rolling by. I just kind of wanted to do this in almost like intermissions and things. Snowstorm, starting at the beginning here. Snowstorm gave $5. I've got a bone for you, doggo, if you know what I mean. Ooh boy, getting lewd, starting things off on a high note. Kyle Daubert gave a total of $7, saying, "Here I am, Rags, and we'd love to hear you, Rags." Of course.
Yeah, that's when they couldn't hear you because of your mic.
Yeah, that was, oh, I remember. Ike of Pike, $2. Someone is ridiculously quiet. Sound check. Well, you know me. I'm not ridiculously quiet. I love to be the center of attention. Captain Cloud, $2. Can't hear Rags. I need to start these streams muted because people.
Yeah, people will pay you.
Yeah, it's shit. It's like, oh, win-win. Spencer gave $5. Holy shit! I get to listen to your stream while building a system. I want to tell you about my experience with JTech TV. I DM'd you on Twitter. I will definitely check that out later. You bet. JTech TV is great. One of my favorite fanboy channels.
Oh, that's so cool though! Building a system while listening to.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
I like
that's gonna be cool.
I
remember the
mine
thermal
listening to somebody.
paste.
You remember the thermal paste? It's like you put it, don't forget your CPU cooler. Yes. Kyle Daubert, $2. He is back. See, I got I got $9 from Kyle Daubert. What a pro!
Nice.
And then I got my mic fixed, so then he could actually hear me.
It all worked out.
Spencer, $2.
And now he'll
Twitter
never pay
is
you again.
Pumlin. I'm mad I forgot about that. No, I got you. Michael Rodriguez, $10. Rags, play some games with me sometime. Message me on Discord. Maybe. Who knows? You never know. But thanks for the $10. Darnisu, $20. Oh, shit. He said, let me smash. It's like, well, everyone's got their price. And don't let them ever tell you anything different. John Reese, $5. Keep fighting the good fight, Rags. That's what it feels like. This stream is like a fight is what it is. It's a one-way fight, though. I would like it to be a fight. Like Blunty, Nate. I was just asking him questions on Twitter because he got into the whole PewDiePie thing. He was saying PewDiePie should be banned from all social media and streaming services. And I think what I asked him was, well, who decides who gets banned and who gets to stay? Do you want Google or Twitter to be making those decisions? And I got blocked. So much for Blunty Nate being a bastion of discussion and intelligence. Rip. CJ the Beast 81, $5. Hey Rags, you're pretty cool. That's all. That's all true, but there's a lot of wisdom in that. I totally agree. I'm pretty nifty.
That's all, folks.
Not all, folks. Connor Grice, $5. Hey Rags, do you plan on making a video on the PewDiePie thing? Longtime fan, just wanted to say hi. Yes, that will be my next video. Absolutely. So that will be my next thing. It should be pretty quick because I'll just use game footage I've been collecting. Error 407.99. $5. I'm really high. Do you smoke cannabis, Rags? No, I do not smoke. I do not partake of the devil's lettuce. No. James Cruz, $20. Love you, Rags. Your videos are my pastime. Thanks very much, James. I really appreciate that. Well, I'll keep them coming. Money or no money, I'll find a way. They will happen, even with my level of technological prowess, whatever that may be. Le Moist American gave $35. Bonjour.
Jesus.
I know, right? Yeah, Jesus. Bonjour. Love you, Rags. I enjoy making music while listening to what you have to say about the gaming community and the media that surrounds it. Keep doing what you're doing. Enjoy the 35 schmacks. See, the schmacks is French. So, for those of you who don't know, schmacks is a very...
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely... schmacks is absolutely French. You could feel it in the way that the word is. Definitely is. $5 from Gilly. Message deleted for wrong think. Message rating +, ungood. George Orwell has been... Talk about someone who wrote timeless books, I'll tell you that. I mean... Yeah. You remember when they were going to release and edit... they were going to rewrite 1984?
That would be so ironic.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, does no one else see the immense irony in rewriting 1984 here?
That's a horrible, horrible idea.
Gilly.
I think the content of the book itself is kind of like written as a type of protection against that.
It really is. Yeah. It's like a constitution of, say it's like his other book, that everyone knows, Animal Farm. It's a cautionary tale about what happens. Those are books that everyone should read. If there's required reading in schools, if they haven't done away with that.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, Fahrenheit 451, absolutely.
I was a Brave New World. I was a Brave New World type of guy.
Brave New World, yeah.
Ray Bradbury wrote
Yeah,
Fahrenheit
Ray Bradbury,
451,
yeah.
And Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World.
Yeah.
But everyone
I'm a
should read
nerd.
those. You should read Fahrenheit 451 was a very good book. It had a
Atlas
good
Shrugged.
old movie. It had
You
a good old
gotta
movie,
read
too.
Atlas Shrugged.
Oh, Atlas
Like your
Shrugged is
audience
really
can even read.
good. Yeah. But Atlas Shrugged is a very good book you should all read. Take it with a grain of salt. It's a little hyperbolic.
It's hyperbolic, but you should definitely read it.
But I do
mean,
think
it's very important to read, because if you want to understand the politics that goes on today and how certain people, like say, Paul Ryan, think, he's a hardcore Ayn Rand fan.
I've read a lot of her books: Fountainhead, We the Living, Atlas Shrugged. But I do think they're good books. I do like them.
I greatly agree with the stuff that she says. I do.
But I
It'll help
can
cleanse her
see
soul.
I see people's contentions with Ayn Rand, absolutely, but I still think they're very good books.
They're good
That's
books.
one of the things the social justice minded people hate more than anything in the world is Rand.
Because they don't read it. They don't read her books. That's a funny thing. They like shitting on it, but they don't read it. They're like, hey, you should read Leon Trotsky's book here, and it's like, oh.
But you can find many of them that literally hate Rand more than they hate extreme right wing.
They hate Rand more than Trump, and that's saying a lot.
It's insane.
Because she's capitalist. She's capitalist, and they hate that. Yeah. That's a real contention. Like
she's
probably
was an
more
atheist. ANCAPy than a lot of people would go for. But
yeah, she's very ANCAPy.
When you read it, just take it with a grain of salt. A lot of it's probably hyperbolic compared to what you would want to be. Yeah. But man, they really are good books. Great adventures.
She hated the religious right. She is a very secular person.
Well, she came from the USSR. She got out of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's like Yakov Smirnov.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's a strange one. Ayn Rand or Yakov Smirnov. Anyway, I saw
all
him
of
live
this is
in
better.
Once. Good guy.
Yeah, all of this is better than Matt Lees' presentation.
Yeah, all of this. Anyway,
absolutely.
Gilly gave $5 more. He said PewDiePie did nothing wrong. Long live the 1,000-year PewDiePie Reich. Yes. I'm so glad that PewDiePie will be the one to ignite the inevitable race war in the United States. He'll be the greatest Swedish guy of all course.
You've caught on to our master plan.
Oh, darn, I should. Okay, it stream's over. Whoops. We said too much. This is the Gamergate plan. Brovakeen gave $2. Can I have $5,000 for school? $5,000, you betches. I don't know. All I can offer you is moral support. I don't give money for school. I'm sorry. I'd say got limits. Dark Project 08, $20. Thanks very much, Dark Project 08.
Nice.
Thank God I can listen to your stream while I'm designing my game. Rags, alcohol, and raging at game engines. What could make a better night? Not Matt Lee's, as the case may be. Love the work. Keep it up. That's interesting. I really hope your game does well. I know nothing about it, but I hope it really does well. We need more people. We need more indie guys out there working on stuff. Assuming you're indie. I don't know. I shouldn't assume your gender or whether or not you're indie, of course.
Yeah.
Michael Rodriguez, $2. How do I get to your Discord? I never see the link because it does not exist, Michael. Do not worry. I just have a private Discord for myself and guests for doing things, but I don't have a Discord, really.
Doing things, quote unquote.
Slave labor.
Slave labor, yeah. I'm recruiting 4-year-olds is what I'm doing. Connor Grice, $5. Here's a little more to make up for the loss of ad revenue. How do you feel about the Lord of the Flies remake with the all-female cast? It sounds like someone didn't read Lord of the Flies. This is what someone is saying, but you should all read Lord of the Flies. It's one of those books.
They're remaking it now.
Yes. Lord of the Flies is an excellent book. You should read it. Also, thank you for the $5 for the lost ad revenue. Appreciate that. As for the all-female cast,
I think it could be interesting.
It could be interesting. I'm not writing it off, but I'm saying...
Yeah. I think it's hilarious that people were like, oh, Lord of the Flies is all women? That's like Wonder Woman's island, like all the women get along. And I'm like, seriously?
Listen, I understand if some people have never seen or met or heard from a woman in your life, but as someone whose first gig was often refereeing little girl soccer games, women are out in an attempt to destroy one another from an early age. So I'm just, but I haven't written off the movie yet, but I just feel like they've written themselves into a corner where if it's actually like the book that they're writing about it, it will be a misogynist piece of filth that will be banned in 18 countries. So
yes,
the Jonification, $2. Holla holla, Rags got $2. Love your vids. Thanks much, Joni.
Nice.
The
Man, you're rich.
I know, right? I've got a very great set of an audience. I really appreciate my audience. They're fantastic. that's even if the money goes. I mean, I had my audience before the monetization, and I'll have them afterwards. But they're really good guys. I try to do good by my guys. They've been very supportive of me.
Your audience doesn't have to be your audience. Your audience is over.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Your audience doesn't have to be your audience. I need to just block all of you and shack up with Matt Lees if I could find a way to contact him.
You need Matt Lees' approval, or else you're a failure.
If you die without Matt Lees' approval, you don't go to Valhalla. You go to Helheim. So that's how it works. Vienticus, $5. Pure capitalism doesn't work because it explicitly denies people equality. Pure socialism doesn't work because it explicitly denies people individuality.
Well, you can't have pure anything. Because,
yeah, I mean, one of them's like
society's a mess. So
yeah, there is that middle ground, I believe, that we should all. I mean, pure one way or the other is. I mean, only the Sith speak in absolutes.
Tell you what, though, equality is overrated.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I mean, if you're not putting in the work, if you're not putting in the work and you don't have the talent, why are you entitled to anything? Tell me.
Socialism's great if you like the taste of dog. It's also subscribing to my channel is also a great way if you like the taste of dog. So Max Ray gave Canadian $3.01. Here, Rags, have the last $3.01 off my prepaid card. Thank you. A richer man could give more, but he could never give as much. Thank you, Max. I really appreciate that.
The definition of life is all about the struggle. It's all about having that conflict.
Matt, you were there when Matt was talking about it. What is reality anyway? I mean, what does it come from? Where does reality come from? Except
it's a video game.
Yeah, reality is a video game.
I think there's a movie about that too.
I think I know what you're talking about. Let's roll.
You could like run over people to like acquire points or whatever.
Death Race.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was an old one, and there was an old one in like the 70s or something, and there was a new one, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh no, which fascism? Huge crossover with GG behavior and Eco Umberto's 14 most common features of fascism. That could be interesting.
No.
So let me skip forward here. Is it just a cultural? We'll get to the cultural stuff here.
Something that happened and that, as Billy Joel said in a song. But we did ignore quite a lot of petrol.
Gamergate's meme.
That wasn't in the song.
Gamergate's meme.
Just because games weren't responsible for the anti-progressive movements we've seen across the world, it doesn't mean that we aren't culturally complicit. You know, this happened in our house.
I'm going to stop right there because
happened in our house.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I talked about in my video too. The pronouns he uses. This is happening in our house. We have allowed this to happen.
Who does Matt consider we anyway?
Well, this is related to. You saw, especially in early Gamergate, that people reached out to developers, especially to say, "Oh God, developers, won't you speak out against us? Blizzard, Valve, all the speak out against Gamergate. Why aren't you guys speaking out against it?" And that's what this is. They're trying to rope in the developers and say, you guys are part of this. You guys caused this with your video games, which are power fantasies. So. That's exactly what he's.
I think he's not going to power fantasies later on, so we'll be able to.
Yeah,
you're all complicit.
Yeah, but he's saying that he wants developers to help out and achieve social justice through their video games by changing video games, even though Gamergate was caused by journalists. So.
It's like they're their own problem in a way. They're creating their own roadblocks here, and they're making their own enemies, and they're
here's what they do.
Dragons here, just like
here's what they do. They create a problem. They manufacture the problem in order to create change. They've always done this
to control people. It's like we made a problem, and you have to come up with a solution to this problem that we said exists totally.
Yep, and
that's
then
the illusion.
The shift, right? It's a shift towards the world that they want to live in.
Did you mention the internet? The existence of the internet doesn't mean it. Okay, so in some part of this presentation, he says this line: "The internet itself negates the purpose of nationalism." Like we're all supposed to be a bunch of globalists now.
Those hippie open borders. The concept of the nation state is oppressive to humankind. It's garbage like that.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
oh,
that's
man.
hilarious.
It'll be. I thank God these people are getting laughed at on the internet by people like us, and they're not making laws.
Yeah.
He said. As people make
except in the European Union where they actually are, like Juncker and Angela Merkel.
Games What has been most upsetting to people like me who've lived and worked in games for 10 years, it's something that...
I don't care how long you've been in games, actually.
We've worked in games for 10 years.
I've been gaming for 20 years.
Worked in
and
games.
I used to play Mario.
Like, come
What the
on,
fuck
who cares? What the fuck does that even matter?
It's the appeal to authority through the time you've spent, and I want to know if I could ask Matt a question. Was one question that he could not avoid? Then I would probably ask him: does he identify as a gamer or as part of the industry? You know, where does he see himself? Because I in no way consider myself anything but a gamer. I'm a guy who plays video games. I like them, and this hobby of mine on YouTube that has blossomed thanks to my audience. It all comes because I like video games and I want to see them prosper and do well.
Beyond that,
on the spectrum.
I don't even think those labels should matter. It's all about what level Matt thinks he's on. Does he think he's above people, or does he think we're on the same level?
Well, he doesn't think we're.
That's
on
the real
level.
question.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I would like to hear from him where he kind of considers himself in the whole gaming landscape. Where does he see himself? I would like to know just from his perspective.
See, I'd ask him why the hell he thinks that haircut is decent.
It is a bit messy, but it's messy by design. My hair's getting long too. I've got my hair in a bun right now, actually. Oh boy, the times they are changing.
Where we lived, and to ignore it and to push it to one side and go, yeah, but it wasn't me, it wasn't people like me. That's irresponsible. We need to.
Fuck you. Fuck you, Matt. Like seriously, fuck you. How dare you try to transcribe culpability on people who did it? Fuck you, Matt. Seriously, go eat a dick.
Gamergate was Matt's fault.
Gamergate's Matt's fault. Yeah, you guys were complicit in the rise of Gamergate. Gamergate's your fault. So there, how do you like them apples? Probably, doesn't taste too good, Matt, does it?
That's the entire thesis of this speech by Matt Lees is cultural complicity. He's trying to rope the developers into doing social change because they are complicit in how these mean gamers are acting on the internet.
Yeah.
By doing nothing, you done a wrong. And so you got to make it right.
We're complicit for white supremacy. We're complicit for fascism. We're complicit in the rise of Trump. It's just like... It's just
for him,
you didn't do what I wanted, so you're complicit.
Where he mentions Brexit too. You can never see anything from him where he doesn't mention Brexit.
So Brexit fascism. That's the triangle that'll always come back to.
To take responsibility for what happened and try and stop it from happening again. Is it just cultural backlash, is what some people say? This is an argument. Yeah, but maybe it's just because there's been too much progression and things are getting too different and people are just angry. This doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm just going to... No. Games being made for men and always being made for men is a false status quo. It wasn't true in the 80s, and ever since it's been a kind of half-truth through the marketing, but mainly it's just bullshit. And also...
Hey, I agree with that! Hey!
So, I think games are largely... I mean, in terms of who they're marketed to, I mean, either way, who they are and are not marketed to or for does not deny anybody access to them.
Yeah.
So, I think
that's a false narrative, right? That other people, maybe not Matt, but other people are saying, oh, games have always been made for boys, and that's why gaming only has men playing it. It's like, so tedious, such a tedious argument, and it's good for him to recognize that. So what's he saying here?
I think also it's important that we don't, when we talk about this, put the cart before the horse. Yeah. I don't think that they, since they marketed it to boys, that meant that boys went for it, almost in the numbers that they did. I think that they saw that the appeal was to boys and men. And as a result, the marketing became what it was.
Yeah, they just wanted money.
I mean, look at Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is Counter-Strike, but even if you replace all of it with like Splatoon-like graphics, doesn't mean that more girls are going to play it. It really isn't.
You calling Splatoon girly? We're going to have some words after this. Boy.
Overwatch, which is one of the has more women playing Overwatch than pretty much any other first-person shooter, and that's still something like
20%.
I've noticed a lot more whenever I play Overwatch. There's definitely a higher percentage chance of me hearing a woman over there.
But I forget what the numbers are. It's
still very small, right? It's still like less than 10%.
Quantic Foundry that did the numbers.
Yeah, they're pretty good. they actually debunked the whole idea that women are like 50% of the video game community for like hardcore games. Are you fucking
Yeah, here we go. Women make up 16% of Overwatch's player base, according to PC Games GamesIn.com. That's July 14th of this year. So
and Overwatch is like the United Nations of video game diversity.
Well,
I can believe
Overwatch gets things done.
They do.
I mean, it's still a decent game, and it still manages to deliver on that front, and that's an example of doing. Yeah, it's an example of doing things right.
Team Fortress 3.
So it's most shooters don't have female protagonists, so that's one reason. Nikki explains. I don't know about that. Maybe, but I just speaking from my personal preference, I don't give a shit who the protagonist has between their legs or what the skin color they have is.
Like, look, I'm playing Divinity Original Sin 2. My main character is a woman,
I'm a lizard. Get on my level, normie.
And for that guy Nick Yee, he's with Quantic Foundry, which is a research company where they have, I think it's around 250,000 people who answered the questionnaires. And for women, a woman protagonist is more important than a male protagonist is to a guy.
So okay, all right, that's fair.
Yeah, that's actually believable. Even speaking anecdotally, all the women I know prefer to play female characters. They just relate to them more.
Most of the characters I play in games are women, actually. If I can choose, I often pick female.
I just pick whichever.
Preferably not human, because playing as human is lame.
I always play humans. Unless I can get something like a robot, then I always play a robot.
Yeah, robots are cool.
Like Destiny, I'm playing a robot.
What do you mean a male or female robot?
I choose a character that looks like me but is skinny and has friends.
Oh,
poor Brad.
Now I feel sad.
Guys, go follow Brad on Twitter and tell him he's beautiful.
Also, things haven't actually changed that much. Like this idea that games landscape has changed so much that people, of course, are angry and standing up against it. No, most games are still just made for young men. It's nonsense. Also, the key thing about this argument is it allows people to frame their aggressions and anger as a necessary response to something else rather than unprovoked aggression. And again, this is exactly what we're seeing
Matt Lee's just made his whole argument worthless. Like, he just said all their efforts over the past, 5 or 6 years were shit and worth nothing. So great job, Matt.
He shat on every single one of the SJW complaints about video games being made for men. Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry. He's about to get back in their good graces at the end of the slide, so we'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Great.
What you really need to note here is the lack of data that he's presenting. He's making his argument. He's not giving you any data. There's a lot of data out there. A lot of it's bad too, but there's a lot of data out there to make these arguments, and he's not using any of it.
You know what's funny about that is that he's shooting out this thing, and it's got no data. Meanwhile, James Damore can provide all the data in the world, and they call him a sexist. Like, what is that? What is that? I mean, that guy,
he's got some data. In slide number 5, he says average age of those who play video games is around 35, and how many playing games is 2.6 billion now versus 100 million.
He wouldn't touch any contentious data, right? Data is not necessary when I want to assert what I need for my narrative.
Yeah, but he's not using that data to. He's not using that data to make his argument. He's just using that data as like a background.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, who would
Yeah, it was easy and lazy.
Yeah, there's no reason for the narrative to contest the number of gamers, for instance.
Yep.
And also, I can say that the ESA survey is not very reliable.
It's not reliable at all. I mean, this whole idea that the average gamer is a 35 to 50-year-old woman. Are you kidding me?
The last ESA survey said that 97% of American households own a personal computer, which is insane. So what that means is that they vastly oversampled people who...
Like you own solitaire.
What? You have a Roomba? That's a personal computer.
I mean, there's all these 4 households out there, and they say basically every single household in America owns a computer. No, that's not true.
Plus, look at the percentage of
major sampling issues.
You got to look at the percentage too of people who consider themselves "quote unquote" gamers.
Yeah, if you're just playing Candy Crush or Solitaire, you're not a gamer.
That's right. Go kill yourself. Well, no, don't do that. Don't. That's a little excessive. Line the
That's the only data. That's the only data he has. This whole presentation. I just double checked. That's the only time he mentions numbers.
Numbers. What are they? But hey, look, where does reality even come from?
Well, he talks about this in the comments, which I pointed to in my video, where somebody said, you're making these arguments. Yeah, somebody said
they were open.
Yeah, they were open for a while, and I saw my comment got removed pretty quick. But somebody had a comment in there where he said that you're making these arguments and you're not presenting anything.
I did see that. Yeah, did you tweet that out?
Well, it's in my video. So
I saw that. I think I saw it from your video then.
Yeah, and he said, "Well, this video is speculative thinking." That's a quote, direct quote. It's just speculative thinking, meaning he's just
shooting the shit.
He's making shit up.
Yeah, he's talking out of his ass.
The wall.
Speculative thinking.
I love that. Speculative thinking.
So this argument, put it in the bin.
Notice he doesn't talk about this. But casual sexism and whitewashing in games has contributed to this perception of what a normal game looks like. And he has a picture of Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher 3.
Of course.
Whitewashing and casual sexism.
But where's the casual sexism in Witcher 3?
Look,
the female characters in that game were sexy and powerful at the same time.
The most powerful characters in that game were female ones. And then you got to look at, it's supposed to depict a medieval time period where obviously the social, women and all that.
The norms were very bad. Yeah, and you actually get to shit on those people because they're assholes.
And the thing is, too, Jamin Warren did this on that abortion that was PBS game show. Whitewashing in games, and they used The Witcher 3 as an example of whitewashing in games. That is one of the most disingenuous things ever said.
I forget. There was a bit of a controversy with, was it Witcher 3 or was it Kingdom Come Deliverance, where they said they wanted more black people represented?
It was both of them.
I know what happened with Witcher 3 because I did a video on it. But basically,
it was Kingdom Come Deliverance too. But they want more black people in their fantasy, and so they'll say, this is a Polish-made. This is a Polish-made Eastern European game where you're not going to get too many black people over there.
It's a Polish game that takes place in Polish folklore and mythology, and there's no Asians in it either.
Nope.
So also there was a Zeracanian in the game. He was a troll named Bart. So get on my level, scrub.
If you can't say the phrase "we was Kangs" in the video game, then you failed.
Yeah, if there is not a radial menu where my character can say "we was Kangs," it is not
unfortunate.
I kind of wonder about this. I think, is the content of games today a problem?
No.
And I think
slide. Oh, okay. Well, we were talking about
violence. People talk about violence. I don't think that's a problem, but I think violence without context is an issue.
Yeah, right there. Pay attention. I don't think violence in games is a problem. This is I made another video about this called the New Jack Thompsons, where they know these people know. It's Anita Sarkeesian as well. They know that violence in video games does not lead to violence in the real world. That issue has been shot to death.
Absolutely.
No pun intended.
Nothing.
And so they're now saying that violence without context is an issue, and that there are these undefinable problems that arise from violence in video games. So they're trying to get
speculative thinking, Brad. Come on.
Yes, exactly. They're trying to get around this whole thing. They know that violence in games isn't a problem, but they're trying to figure out a way to make it a problem.
I think
that's a blanket brush. That's a blanket brush they apply.
Sometimes, sure, but you don't need a reason. And just because people what's a game that has violence without any context in it? There's Nidhogg. Why is that the first thing that came to my mind?
Ruiner's pretty awesome. I don't know if you got a code for that yet.
What is?
Ruiner is like a cyberpunk version of Hotline Miami. It's not out yet. It's a preview thing. You can probably just ask them for a code. I'll send you one.
But I don't think anyone ever played a video
Paint the town red.
Saw something violent, and it was like, there's not a very good reason for this violence. So I think it's a problem that this violence doesn't take place in some sort of a social or political lens, or there's no commentary being made here. I mean, I think it could sometimes help, absolutely. You get games like, it always gets brought up, Spec Ops: The Line. And,
you mean like those? Yeah.
Okay. I mean, The Witcher is another good example. A lot of the time, the violence isn't just here, death, blood, gore, go. It's
you actually
there's reasons.
There's context to it.
And a lot of games penalize you for violence, as Feminist Frequency should know, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look at Assassin's Creed, right? Everybody is a part of a simulation, but even if you kill those people, you get a game over because that's not what the assassin did.
Yeah, killing innocents is bad. I couldn't begin to start a list of games where killing innocents or non-targets penalizes you for that.
Hell, it's even bad in GTA. You know, it's bad in GTA to run over people.
The police will come and they will kill you.
Yeah, they will.
There are real-world
consequences. One of my biggest pet peeves in video games is that they don't allow you to kill children in the video games. Like Skyrim. Skyrim has in one of the castles, one of the halls of the king, has this kid that just insults you. And you can't kill him because, no, you can't kill kids in video games. That'd be awful.
Fallout 3 had Little Lamplight, and they had the most annoying kids there.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Why can't you all just chew on a bullet?
Because it's not Fallout 2.
I think in Oblivion and Skyrim, there's like a canon reason, like they made some sort of bullshit god that protects kids or something.
Well, shit. Let's make our entire army a bunch of children because they cannot be stopped. We'll have our Children's Crusade Mark II. We've learned from our mistakes this time. No bugs.
This might sound slightly sociopathic, but Fallout 2 was great for this reason because when you go to what was it? Not the hub, but like the Junktown or something, right? One of the towns that you first leave and go to. Kids will try to pickpocket you, and they will steal the best items off of you. You could steal it back from them, and that's cool, and that's the best way to handle it. But you could blow them away, and everybody would hate you afterwards.
The rest, absolutely.
Yeah,
they would send a bounty hunter after you. If you did that, there would be hunters coming after you because you were a child killer who butchered children in this town. So it was a very role-play thing, you murdered a child because you had no patience with them. You're an asshole, and now we're going to try to kill you. And those guys are very hard. So it wasn't recommended that you do that.
So we're all pro murdering children in video games.
No,
it shouldn't even be
totally not.
What? Nick, get it. Normie, get out.
Get out.
Yeah, jeez.
God, Nick, such a virtue signaling moral busybody. Can't kill kids. They're garbage.
The violence is more the aggression. If you're not giving people good reasons to be fighting stuff and killing stuff, then you can maybe very gently kind of change the norms that people have in their heads about what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, right there.
This is so disingenuous.
You can change the norms in people's heads about what's right or wrong by having context for violence in video games. There is no evidence anywhere in the world to back that up.
This is so disingenuous.
There's nothing.
These are the same people who say you should punch Nazis. So
Yeah.
So I mean,
why are you trying to play God, Matt?
This argument here that he's making is so disingenuous. He's saying that games like Call of Duty do not provide you the adequate context in which you commit violence into other people. But every game, every AAA title that you can play, whether it is Divinity, whether it's Baldur's Gate, whether it's Titanfall, whether it's Call of Duty or Destiny, anything. They give you context for your violence.
Apparently my mic is not in stereo. Apparently my mic's having problems here.
Oh, really?
In Call of Duty World War II, if you don't get every soldier's backstory when you kill them, then it's not good enough. You have to be able to see the soldier's wife and child.
Yeah, it flashes in front of the screen as you pull the trigger.
Yeah, it tells you your
killed
whole
one
story.
person, but you ruined 5 lives. So
I always thought that would be pretty cool if you had a game like a first-person shooter where you kill some guard or something, and then you see flashes of like his whole life, all the way to his funeral, where people are now having his funeral, and his wife is crying. And that'd be like, whoa!
Copyright Nick Monroe, 2017.
Watch Dogs actually had a thing like that where you could analyze people, like their IDs, and then you could determine, okay, like, do I want to steal from this guy? Oh, it says here that he's like a homeowner and he started his own business and he's a migrant. Okay, maybe you don't want to steal from him, right? That's cruel. But then this other guy is a millionaire and he's a pedophile. Okay, yeah, I'll get him. I'll steal.
Oh yeah, I remember that. There was a video called "Making the World a Better Place," Watch Dogs, and this guy just went around like killing people with certain political views, and it pissed everyone off.
Right, because he did one where he was just killing gay people.
Yeah, God forbid.
and everybody was upset by that. They're like, "How can you put this in the game?" And I'm like, dude, it's an open world game. It's a game. It's like a fucking sandbox. I mean, let people play the way they want to play it. No one's forcing you to play like that, like a sociopath. You know.
You guys know
Jesus.
how to fix. Apparently, let me
Yep.
switch.
I'm watching it now. He shoots a Muslim. He shoots another Muslim.
Oh fuck! No,
He
not
shoots
that. Oh, now
He shoots an illegal immigrant, Scientologist.
he shoots
Yeah.
illegal.
So what's this? What are you saying?
I need to let me see. Downmix to mono. Let's see if that fixes it for everybody.
That should fix it. Yeah.
I guess I don't know
Kills
why
an
it changed. I don't know why it
asexual guy.
changed it all of a sudden. But oh well. Let me know if that. Let me know if that fixes things. Napabin sent me a message on Discord here. He's always watching out for me.
All right.
A tent for a convention shot.
Yeah, it's like I got in. It's like yes, I'm speaking.
I think the most worrying tendencies for me at the moment is a tendency for games not to say anything. We've got a trend at the moment where marketing for games is using political issues and touchstones as buzzword like marketing lip service, where you'd be like, yeah, it's maybe about this, but then the game comes out and it's like, no, we're not actually saying anything and it's complex and nothing's black and white. And then we've got this insistence that games aren't political. Like, you know, Far Cry 5 is a game which is coming out soon and it's about far-right religious fundamentalists in America, but the devs are still like, no, it's not, we're not making any political statement. It's like, well, why not? Like, why not?
Why not? Why are you not
Why
making
not?
these games follow my political beliefs? Is
Because
exactly
we
what
know
he's saying.
with E3 and the last night and with PewDiePie and with, I mean, yeah, games should be political, but only if it's my political. Only if it's politics for me. Only if it's what I agree with. You're showing a dystopian feminist future. Well, that's misogynist, and you can't make that game, and we're going to blacklist you from the industry, and we'll make sure no publisher ever touches you, and you'll never work in this town again. But if it's about how evil white males are, go for it. Absolutely. This is good, and
The
everyone
place
should
you
know about
have
it.
paused. The place you have paused. It looks like Matt Lees is jerking himself off.
No, that's just that's a mobile game. That's different. So when you've got it's so upsetting to me how they could it's this immense double standard of that's like where I stand on, you know, like free speech, for instance, is like, yeah, you don't like what a Nazi has to say, you don't like what a white supremacist, black supremacist, Asian supremacist, wherever they are these days, or you don't it doesn't matter who they are, they get free speech. It doesn't matter what the politics of a video game are. When you start picking and choosing which politics in games are allowed, that is a dangerous path to ride down for the industry. And you don't want to start doing that.
This is also this argument of his is also cribbed right from Anita Sarkeesian, that there's this need. I've been trying for months now to come up with a name for it. People have this what I call an irrational need for games to be political. They want all games to be political. The argument is that games are a product of society, and society is a product of politics, and so
society and the people who make media have a responsibility.
Yes,
Political is political.
We actually had
entitlement.
Ben Kuchera, the great Ben Kuchera of Polygon, wrote an article, or was it a tweet or whatever, talking about how Tetris is innately political because of the music. And
the Russians.
because the Russian music. And so I made a video about this too, where
communist utopia, all blocks line up and disappear like people.
Soviet bloc.
I talked to the people that are in charge of Tetris right now. They're still in contact with the guy who created Tetris, and they said no, it's not political at all. He just made a game for fun, and the music is just a Russian folk tune.
He's like assembling prisoners neatly as possible into Gulag. Notice all the many colors that they come in.
Yeah, so you have
bonus points for red.
You have Tetris, which is the biggest selling game ever, and the developers of Tetris say that game is not political. Then you have Minecraft, which is the second best selling game ever, and I talked to Notch. I asked Notch, I said, hey, somebody is saying all games are political. Is Minecraft political? And he says, well, you can say that person's an idiot. No, it's not. No, it's not political.
Remember, hashtag Block Lives Matter. Oh, there you go.
Block Lives Matter.
Block Lives Matter.
I think someone made a game like that once. Block Lives Matter.
Oh, that sounds great. You know, they will say that everything you create is political because the personal is political, and this is a very feminist belief, right? It comes from intersectional feminism, where everything that you do is a radical feminist act, right? Like a woman existing is a radical feminist act. So when a woman creates a video game, that's a radical feminist act. When a man creates a video game,
buys it, is what happens.
The patriarchal act. You know, everything's fucking political. So you got to unpack the invisible knapsack, because the invisible knapsack is what enables you to create the things that you create. It defines who you are as a person.
And they pair that, of course, with, you know, it was Anita, I believe Anita, who said that feminism isn't about women's personal choices. So you put those two together, and then bam, you're setting yourself up pretty well there, aren't you? What do you know?
Yeah, it's self-destructing to try and see politics and everything, because then you don't do what's natural to you. You do what the perception of what you think is natural to you, but then your perception is flawed as a human. So what you think is natural is not the same with what is actually natural to you.
That's why you get shoehorning. That's why you get like video games with characters that don't make any sense. That's why you get like a randomly, you know, gay character or something that no one is happy with.
Transgender. How are you? Let me tell you
exactly
about how.
What this is it's just that these people are just obsessed with. They want so desperately to have a game where a very popular game and not just some indie game where the developers agree with them and they make a political statement on their behalf.
Fucking Mass Effect.
You had Anita Sarkeesian with BioShock Infinite, and you had
that pissed me off so much.
The Vox Populi were just perfect for Anita Sarkeesian. You know, they're minorities, they've been oppressed, and they're rising up to fight their oppressors. But they turned out to be bad guys, and that just
everyone's bad. Moral grays, it's like reality, and that pissed me off. What she said, that I think she said that BioShock Infinite chose instead to focus on a garbage story about the oppressors are just as immoral and evil as the oppressed. It's like, what? Stop talking, Anita. Oh my god! It's a garbage story about how the oppressed are just as bad as the oppressors. Oh man, that's what you took away from BioShock Infinite.
That's what you took away from it.
Yeah, this is the source of this argument that all games are political. That they want these games to be political, and my response to that is that if everything is political, then nothing is political. You know,
right?
Okay, the last night or whatever game you want to make it political, then do so. But you know. Yep. I'm eating an apple. The apple is a product of my society. That apple is not political.
A large
they will say that it is because someone was oppressed to create that apple. Someone was oppressed to farm it. You know, and an industry was created that drove other people out of business. So everything you do is political.
Yeah, but sometimes an apple is just an apple.
No, apple represents the struggle of the proletariat against their oppressors.
Driving a car is a political act because of the carbon footprint it leaves behind. See, intersectional feminism is just everything, right? Everything you do is oppressive.
You're not walking, you're marching. You're marching everywhere.
Yeah. But now we can't really have much of an interesting conversation about politics in video games because...
It's impossible.
Yeah, because
it was mutilated.
Wrong opinions need not apply.
Yeah.
This combined with a trend in game design towards grey morality is just a thing of amplifies a culture of false equivalence, you know?
Okay. Grey morality, I love grey morality in video games because when the answer is obvious and when the answer for who's good and who's bad is very clear cut, it's black and white, it is extremely easy to determine, that's boring. That's a boring story.
That's Baldur's Gate, or Knights of the Old Republic, or Mass Effect.
Fallout New Vegas is what it is. It's like the Fallout New Vegas was an excellent game, but NCR was clearly the good guys, and Caesar's Legion was clearly the bad guys.
Yeah, they're fucking torturing and enslaving people.
Yeah,
who wants to side with them? Like, Fallout, you know, people hate Fallout 4, right? But the way I see Fallout 4 is it was a lot of gray area. Everybody had a good argument. You know, everyone had a good argument. Yeah, you could say that the railway was arguably, you know,
they were definitely the most moral of the groups. Yes,
right,
absolutely. The railroad or whatever.
Yeah, because they're the underground railroad.
I didn't like how they were clear. I wish that every faction had like this dark side. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't really have a dark side.
Yeah, it's like we're the Institute. We're totally for what's best for humanity. By the way, our robots are above ground slaughtering everybody on sight. It's like, okay, no.
Yeah. Like I sided with the Brotherhood because I understood the dangers that they pose. You know, like for the greater good, right?
I sided with the Brotherhood because I felt that I think I looked too deep into it, and I saw that the Brotherhood was, while not morally perfect and definitely problematic, they were the only faction that was actually capable of creating order. So I
can see your argument.
Yeah. So
because the Railroad was more of a stopgap. Right, the Railroad was more of a stopgap. They couldn't rule. They didn't have any organization.
They operated in secret, and they were almost wiped out. It's like, yes, they're the most moral. However, they are incapable of creating a large scale, change in things. But
they cannot create civilization, and in a society that's overrun by post-apocalypse, you need stability.
I sided with uninstalling the game because it just bored the hell out of me.
How far did you get, Brad? I noticed your tweets about it. How far did you get? Hours-wise, not progress-wise.
I was probably 12 hours, maybe.
Well, that's a fair amount of time. I had to load that thing up with mods to play it. I enjoy it a lot now.
Oh, you gotta do that.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it a lot now because I have modded it the hell out of that game.
Yeah.
It's not even beautiful. A Bethesda game anymore. It's just it is the people's RPG. So there you go. That's ultimately what Bethesda games
I would say that Matt Lees would probably hate the game Tyranny. That's the latest game from Obsidian, and it's all about moral gray areas, right? You play as one of the bad guys, but how you choose to be a bad guy and rule this area, these rebels, is up to you. Your choices determine how things play out. So he'd probably hate it because you play as the bad guy. It's all like there are no good choices here. Something you do is always going to fuck somebody over.
Gray morality as a trend is bad. Games should be more political, but only my politics. That's basically Matt Lees' position here.
This idea that, I mean, it does it in games. I get why it does it. It does it for drama. It's like, because it means that everything's exciting and bad things are always happening and heartstrings. But in reality, it does help build this political culture where people think, but everyth's probly equal.
There's no evidence that it helps build that political culture.
Exactly. And plus,
this is the Arnita argument, that everything that the media you consume is going to dictate your thoughts.
Yeah, and this doesn't, even if it did, it wouldn't tell people that all ideologies are equally bad or equally good.
No.
It teaches people to take a nuanced approach to how ideologies operate.
Yeah, if anything, they teach you how to...
There is good and bad to a lot of things. It's not just... It's not just, this is a thing that's different, it must be bad. This is a thing that I like, it must be completely good. We must ignore the goodness and the bad things, and we must ignore the badness and the good things, because gray morality is a negative trend. Because you could look at someone who you disagree with. You could look at Antifa, you could look at a Nazi and say, okay, I understand why you might think that, or I want to maybe get into the base of why you think the way you do. And I guess maybe they equate wanting to search for those inner answers as thinking that it's a... I mean, I guess they would say that even if you went to a Nazi, for instance, and asked them why they think the way they do, I guess people like Matt Lees equate that with defending Nazis. So
yeah, they would. Yeah,
and they probably would. Yeah, I've been called a Nazi defender because I was like, fucking Nazis are awful, but you got to let them speak because human rights or it's pesky human rights. I know.
But you can tie his argument that gray area, gray morality is bad, and that all this stuff. You can tie it back to Gamergate, where he wants a definite right and a definite wrong. And if you look at Gamergate is a huge gray area where there's right and wrong all over the place on both sides and everywhere.
This ties into Trump too a lot, because Trump's really not conservative at all.
No, he's not.
He's definitely actually a pretty middle-of-the-road candidate in terms of policy, but we can't have gray morality. We can't have gray areas because Trump has to be the bad guy.
They want black and white. If you are Gamergate, you are evil. If you are pro-Trump, you are evil. If you are Gamergate, then you are pro-Trump because you are evil.
And if you defend Trump from lies, so the media lies, then you're evil too. Even though,
black and white just makes their little world so easy and wrapped up into a nice little package that's what they want out of their video games.
By Cal the Destroyer.
And the effort to fight each other is what causes polarization in the first place.
Correct. You know what's funny is the fact that he's arguing that video games that are gray area and promote gray area morality influence the way that people think. My counter argument is that games do not exist in a vacuum. Like you have, yeah, if all you had was just one game, then maybe you'd have that argument. Maybe, right? But you have a billion games out there. You have a billion movies, a billion TV shows, a billion books, a billion books, I should say. And you live in the real world, you're going to be exposed to so much. You're going to be exposed to so many different ideas. A game is nothing. It's even if you spend 1,000 hours in it, so fucking what? You know,
I think Matt Lees makes this argument like later on. I'm not even joking. Like I'm gonna try and see if he mentions it in the slide, but I'm pretty sure he mentions this.
That's funny.
By the way, I should mention that he does it. It starts moving along here after these couple slides where he starts kind of wrapping it up. So for those of you who are wondering about that, at least he starts wrapping up his argument pretty quickly, and it kind of makes a mess.
Should we we could skip ahead to, let me take a look at these slides here. About 24 or 23. We can go into 23 and slide into 24. You think that'll be good?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
I gotta play some Destiny 2 anyways. Yeah.
Okay, that's.
I got to get back to Divinity Original Sin too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out.
I gotta go.
How are the games?
I don't have to get back to that
over the next 10, 15 years while they're waiting for society to give them something, anything to do. How are these games going to affect these people? How is it going to change their identities subtly over time?
There we go.
I think the key thing that we need to keep in mind when we think about what games are is games are a place where disenfranchised people live.
No evidence.
No evidence.
I thought the internet and games were bad places for us to be. Oh well, that's fine.
I guess with that mentality, that's why he wants diversity in games, because he wants to give disenfranchised people a home.
You know what he's saying what he's saying here is that video. He doesn't want to say it. He'll contradict us later. But what he's really saying here is that video games are the ultimate meritocracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he makes kind of two. He makes kind of two arguments here that disenfranchised people have always found solace in games. He's talking about people like gamergaters feel disenfranchised and they're escaped in games and they're no longer accepting reality. But he's also meaning that marginalized people have found solace in games, and so we need to make games more friendly to marginalized people, and we need to get rid of these other disenfranchised people and make room for more diversity.
You know what's funny here with this little argument that he's making here is that when he's talking about disenfranchised people and how insular their communities are, like I can say firsthand, Twitch community is very insular, right? They have their own in-jokes, they have their own behavior. The way that they behave probably wouldn't be socially acceptable, not even on Twitter, right? Because of how
Destiny.
Exactly, right? Like they say some really fucked up shit, is what I'm saying, right? And so do the social justice warriors. So people like him who are trapped in his own ideological bubble, is that he cannot even see outside of it. All he does is see all the other ideological bubbles. He might see Twitch, or he might see maybe some community on, say, the IGN forums or something like that. And he will assume that these people are, defining what gamers are, but he doesn't see the fact that he lives in his own ideological bubble. Like, he is so blind to it. Like, he can't see the forest of the trees. It's funny.
And that's why he's still thinking about Gamergate after all these years.
Yeah.
Let me do some super chats here real quick, and then we will mosey on through. Let me see. Vienticus, $5. Thank you, Vienticus. Again, gave me 5 earlier. U.S. was mostly in the middle, but when Russia was the bad guy, no one rises to fight bad guys unless they're on the opposite side. So I guess that's a callback to the whole good, bad, Russia good. U.S. can do nothing wrong. Russia's all bad.
The Trump Russia narrative has died, though.
Of course, because there was nothing to it from the start, and they just
there's nothing to it. It's just fucking Hillary.
Russia's
I missed the Cold War.
Yeah, that's great. Kekistani Jihad, $50. Ooh boy, my oppressed fellow native
Shadalay, my dude.
He wishes only to peacefully ply his memes.
You should ban that player for having
sorry. Bungie
symbol.
Just sent me a message. We can't have your hate symbols in the chat. I'm sorry, Kekistani Jihad. But thank you very much for $50. Again, thank you very much. He says,
Shadalay, my dude.
Yeah, Shadalay, absolutely, my brother. Or sister, I don't mean to... Rags, I don't know how much you enjoy RPGs, but if you haven't played it, I recommend the game Divinity Original Sin 2. It is one of the best. It's one of the best RPGs, if not the best, I have played in a long time. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Will, you'll be happy to know that I am an owner of Divinity Original Sin 2. So do not you worry. I enjoyed thoroughly the first game. I didn't beat it. Dear God, I couldn't do it. But it was amazing, everything I did play. So thank you again for the $50. I really do appreciate that. Charlie brother. Zeke Padilla, $10. A friend of mine introduced me to your videos. He shares your views, as do I. Keep bringing on the internet justice. Much love. Thanks very much, Zeke. I appreciate that, and I shall indeed. The Big Wool, DKK20. I don't know what DKK is, but thank you for the 20 of them.
King.
Huh?
Drift King.
Drift King. Danish Crones, maybe? I don't know. Rags, acute. And then, again in bold, cute. Well, I know what side of the I don't know what side of the bread my audience is buttered on here, but thank you very much for the 20 DKKs. Thank you. Zeke again, $2. Rags, your mic needs fixing, says the chat. Every time I have mic problems, people give me money. So I don't know. You guys are setting a pretty bad precedent here. Okay. Like I'll never fix it. Mr. Jackson, $2. Rags, this is all I can offer. Please use wisely. Oh, I shall. I absolutely shall. I'll buy Creation Club mods for Fallout 4 with them. Absolutely, definitely. Ugh.
Yeah. The best Creation Club mod is the one that gets. I mean, not Creation Club mod. The best mod on Nexus is the one that gets rid of Creation Club mod news.
Yeah, fuck that shit. That was a pretty popular tweeted out too. People are behind that. Jack Braxton, $2. Fucking Fallout 4. Damn kids won't die. Vienticus, $2. You cannot not be political, says Vienticus.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can. You can. Thank you too. I do think you can be completely apolitical. I think it happens all the time. There's definitely a sphere. Politics is there's Venn diagrams. I'm certain if you could make it, but some things just have nothing to do with politics. And if you think everything is political, I think that's a bad way to look at the world.
You got issues.
Yeah. Toonie712. He gave $4. It's called No Really, We're Art, and we matter. Take us seriously, damn it. So
I don't care if people take gaming seriously or not.
No, games are not art. Bye.
No, I think games are definitely art.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think they definitely are art.
So Twitter is art because Matt
I think games are products because they are art.
Twitter can be art. I mean, you can. There are some tweets out there that are magical.
They have to be art. They must be framed and put into a museum.
You know what I think? I think games, they're very artistic elements of games, but they are first and foremost products, right? You have to review them like products, like a car.
So are the great works of art from history.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're like cars, right? If you take a look at, say, a Lamborghini or even a Nissan, right? You could argue that they are art. Like, they're beautiful to look at, beautiful to drive. The way that they handle is an artistic expression of the engineer. You could say that.
So that makes it
art. Yeah, that makes it art. It's just not art in the sense that all these hipsters think it's art. Like Impressionism or some bullshit.
We've never heard of the art that they're always talking about, I'm certain. So I won't even get into that. Vienticus actually sent $2 more. He said, study more. You cannot not be political.
I actually kind of studied political philosophy at one of the better universities in the world, and I'm saying, no, not everything is political.
I don't believe that at all.
No, I don't think studying is part of it.
Yeah, I don't.
$2 well spent.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the cash sent my way, but I just completely disagree that you cannot not be political. I think there are absolutely things that are completely secularly political in terms of that sense. But let us continue, and thanks again for the super chats, especially my Kekistani oppressed sister.
The thing is, when people get into polarized arguments, they think in a two-dimensional way. To get apolitical, you have to go into 3 dimensions.
Like, things can exist outside other things. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes!
This is just key. And if you don't start treating games as being like places where people are going to exist, then you're maybe not making a game properly at the moment.
Oh, shit. Matt Lays is going to fucking tell us what a proper game is and isn't.
No. He is telling game developers what
their game is wrong. Your game is wrong, and I'm Matt Lees.
I can't understand. This is the big thing about this. I can't understand why game developers would sit there and listen to this guy. Tell them how to properly make a game. I would be throwing Rotten Tomatoes at the kid.
Yeah, it's like Witcher 3 isn't a proper game because the disenfranchised gamer does not feel something from this something. It's like, fuck off, Matt. It's like, where do you get off? It's like, where is your game, Matt? Like, where is your
And I would like to
perfect
include
game?
that his slide that he has up there is it's a picture was kind of taken from a meme I saw on Twitter. It's about all these protagonists from video games that all
PBS
look
Game
alike.
Show,
They're
I
all, was it?
That's where I first saw it, was PBS Game Show.
They're all white guys with strong facial features and mostly brown hair and stubble. But of course, except if you look at the GTA 4 protagonist, what was his name? Nico?
Nico Bellic.
Yeah, he wasn't a classic white
picture.
guy.
Yeah, he's in that picture. Fourth
Yeah,
row.
I know.
Oh, it doesn't matter. He's still white. He's still white, even though he's from Eastern Europe. It doesn't matter. His skin deep.
If you like hate those things though, and you're intolerant towards them, isn't that just as bad?
And he was an immigrant too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not the right kind of immigrant, Brad. He has to be a transgender black woman who don't need no man.
Of course.
And we know that this is we know this. The thing is, like, this isn't a new conversation. Like, we should have already been thinking about this, because for years, marketing has been aiming at disenfranchised young men for such a long time, and this has led to insecure individuals being whipped.
Said the guy who blocks everyone on Twitter and closes his comment sections, talking about insecure young men on this.
Up into communities by slightly thoughtless games publishers being like, be the best, come on, and then these communities have formed angry mobs, and let's not do this again, please.
Here we go to power fantasies.
I think it would be, yeah, I mean, I never feel like a power fantasy game is like, I didn't even see them as power fantasy games. I just heard it one day, like, these are power fantasies. I'm like, okay, sure. The first time I heard that, nothing negative was even I could dissect from that. Like, these are just power fantasies. Okay, sure.
I just think all this shit's such a waste of fucking time, Matt. What you're gonna do this your whole life?
He's gonna tell developers what good games really are and aren't, despite how much they sell, and despite what the reviews are.
Matt Lees is gonna sit on his deathbed
actually,
and he's
if anyone's
gonna say,
watching, if you're still,
he's gonna say, "I've done fucking nothing with my life."
Well, he gave us this gem of a video. It'll be great.
Yeah.
So someone gave $5, message retracted. So whoever you are, thanks for the $5, but the message seems to be retracted. Maybe I have a couple mods of very people I play online with all the time, but I guess it was something foul. But thanks for the $5. Whoever you are, and Vienticus sent $2 more. He said, "Okay, let's debate somewhere."
Sweet.
It's like, I'm not. I mean, with like who? With Brad? I mean, he's the one with the degree. Or who went to studied it. I'm just a guy who can use critical thinking, I like to think. But again, I mean, things can exist outside of politics. I just don't even see how you could make the argument that it's not possible for it to occur.
The thing is, the world can be beautiful even in all the ugliness of it if you look for the very good values. Like, how is a freaking ham sandwich like a political statement? Or I don't see how you could link everything together into a political sense. I don't see it. Ham sandwich, it goes back to PETA. They can make that argument.
pandering to power fantasies in 2017 and still insisting that the customer is always right, etc.
It's current year plus 2.
To discover that your community is just people with fire and torches trying to burn you. It's just, we've seen where this leads. You can have honest conversations with people, but this empowerment and this pandering is a dark path.
That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the things that Total Biscuit, well, I know your guys' opinion on him, but he talks about consumer rights a lot. And of course, Matt Lees is against that. If you talk about consumer rights, which I think this is all harkening back to Total Biscuits, because that was his whole thing. Mm-hmm. It was that Gamergate was a thing about consumer rights. And so I think that's a response to that. And so if you're talking about consumer rights, then you're wrong. You're evil.
The Inticus gave $2 more, by the way. He said, I didn't say politics, I said political.
And he's getting into semantics there, which is just a boring kind of conversation.
I mean, okay, yeah, I don't like this. If you are still pandering to power fantasies in 2017 and still insisting that the customer is always right, do not be surprised to discover that your community consists largely of torches and pitchforks. How you even get there?
It's ironic that Matt Lees is the one that stabbed Total Biscuit in the back, and he's making this argument now.
Yes.
Because he himself was a torch and pitchfork in that sense.
I mean, like, if you give the player all these powers and abilities in games, and you give them great freedom and these amazing experiences, and treat them like the customer is always right, and then you start going back on that, Bethesda. If you start reining things in, if you start streamlining things, if you take away what you had given them before, they will be upset as consumers. It's not about that it's a power fantasy. That can happen in any genre of game.
Yep.
Now, how dare you have a power fantasy where you think your consumers are important? You know, what kind of game are you making? Like GTA 5 making, you know, which is still the third best-selling game of 2017?
No, I'm pretty sure it made the best one next to Minecraft. I saw something from one of my tweeters today that said that.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, the game is constantly updated.
Yeah.
I think the point is that, you know, being entitled to something as a customer, if you're promised a product and a product doesn't deliver, I think you're entitled to it. You're entitled to complain about it.
You deserve what you paid for, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
And when
if I buy a car,
then I mean that's basically being lied to and having money taken from you.
If I buy a car, like right now, if I buy a car and, you know, the gears don't work, of course I'm gonna be fucking pissed. You know, I'm entitled to them. I'm entitled to everything that you put in the brochure. And if I'm paying full price for it, I'm entitled to every single one of those things. Even if you sell it to me at a discount and you say, oh yeah, by the way, you're getting everything. And then it turns out that you took out half the features, I'd be pissed. I have every right to be.
That's one of the things one of the buzzwords, if I hear a gaming journalist or one of those guys, whatever they want to call themselves, if I hear them say, you know, gamers are entitled, then boom,
like, oh, you of all people,
what you say.
Who are you to say what we are?
You check out.
That's one of the stupid buzzwords that got blown up, and it's almost meaningless now.
Look at No Man's Sky.
It's about we can do it and you can't. That's what a lot of this comes down to. It's okay when we do it.
You look at No Man's Sky, right? That game got so many rave reviews from the games journalists who pushed it because, hey, they're buddies with the guys, right? And turns out the game's trash, and people, you know, shit on it because, hey, he was going on the Colbert Report, or, you know, actually going on the late night show, Stephen Colbert, and saying, oh yeah, there's multiplayer in it. You can do all these things, these crazy things. There's space battles and all these other crazy things that you.
Yeah, there was definitely false advertising with that game, and it pissed me off when it came out that there would be no legal consequences of that. I was like, how can you possibly side with them on this when they were out there saying the game would have this and this and this can happen, and it just didn't exist in the game.
Y'all just need to wait for Star Citizen. Just wait for Star Citizen.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Dr. Spice, by the way, real quick, Dr. Spice was the one who sent the $5 earlier. He gave $5 more. He said, sorry, my other was retracted. I meant to send $10 your way. I truly appreciate what you've done for us all, and I hope your channel grows huge. Me too, Doctor. Thanks for the $10. Nice. I'll definitely...
Grows huge and gets demonetized.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll be able to get over this hump.
Start a Patreon.
I can. Yeah, I'll try to get focused on that.
Yeah, so, you know, like, it goes back to these entitlement things, right? When No Man's Sky was getting so much backlash, Polygon, Owen Good from Polygon, wrote an article condemning the entitled gamers. They're like, you're all so entitled for asking for all these basic features that were supposed to be in the game. How dare you? You know, you need to grow up, you children. And who is this motherfucker to tell me? You know? Yeah, gamers, exactly. Yeah, fucking 9-volt.
9-volt.
He likes feet. He's got a foot fetish. Anyway,
fair enough.
This so they were shitting on gamers for having you know, for feeling entitled to things that they were promised, and then attacking gamers for wanting these features in. And of course, gamers are not going to be happy. You're like, you guys are the enthusiast press. You're supposed to represent us.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
It's like you should take the side of the consumer here. You know,
Yeah.
but you don't so often. You just don't. You take the opposite position, or you actively demonize the player base. And that's why we don't trust you. That's why we don't like you.
Yeah.
Just don't act like a dick. That's all you have to do. And then you're fine in life.
I'm gonna apply some digital blackface here, and I'm gonna say, "Ooh, baby, what is you doing?"
Oh no. Oh no. Well, not with a digital blackface now. Let's tone it down a bit.
Stop it, because you're going to get burnt. Anyway.
Or just be good to consumers.
Something crucial I need to say about disenfranchisement, because it's a word I've been using a lot. It's a factor. It's not an excuse. And I think the key thing when you look at things like Gamergate is this is a movement of cynics and losers.
Oh, fuck you!
Yeah.
Fuck you, man.
Fuck you!
Yeah,
what an asshole!
Cynics and losers.
Cynics and losers.
It's like Gamergate, it was just a bunch of cynics and losers. They're one of the most
Bitch, I get paid
dismissive
more than you do.
takes
Fuck you.
on a complex and legitimate movement.
You asshole.
Tell Gawker who lost.
As I said earlier, I'm okay with him saying that, you know, they're cynics and losers if he knows, if he has talked to Gamergaters to find out if they're cynics or losers, but he hasn't. So
people like this, they assume that they are superior to gamers, that they are the only ones with jobs, that we are all sitting in our mom's basement, you know, living off of our mom's.
Yeah, games are the place where the disenfranchised people live.
Yeah, they can't imagine that we might actually have jobs and actually probably get paid. Yeah, like normal people who have real jobs, and you know, some of us might actually be making quite a decent amount of money. Some of us may be making as much as they do, some less. But who fucking cares, right? It doesn't matter. The point is, we're not cynics and losers.
Yeah, gamers are they could be anybody, and the normal gamer is not. They don't look at this stuff and getting demonized and being name called and labeled as all these things for no reason. They don't look at these presentations by Matt Lees, as you can tell from his like-dislike ratio.
My ophthalmologist is a fucking gamer. He plays Diablo 3 with me, you know? So what the fuck, man? You know, these are people with real jobs.
Yeah, just don't. It's bad to just dismiss arguments like that.
Yeah.
I think what he thinks are gamers and what actually gamers are two different things, for one.
He's already decided what gamers are and aren't, and I think he's decided he's not a gamer. He's better. He's higher up in the hierarchy of the industry. He's a social justice advocate who thinks he's part of the upper echelons of the industry, and he gets to dictate what isn't reality to people.
Yep.
Yeah,
this fucker.
Sorry, nuts in my mouth. Let's go.
That's in your mouth.
There's nothing more to say about it, really. You've got opportunists swooping in to get some extra influence
That's what she said.
Money. Or you just got people who failed to find a place in society. And that's sad, but at the end of the day, these people chose
like you, Matt.
hate and big.
Yeah.
Like
Matt.
you.
Yeah, I mean, that's why your videos are so disliked, and that's why your joke who blocks people on Twitter, and you won't have discussions with people. You won't do it. You're like Anita Sarkeesian. You will never debate someone, ever. I don't know. Has he debated anybody? I don't recall any.
Nah,
I don't recall Matt Lees doing anything notable in life up to this point.
Hey, everybody can profit from a bad example.
Bigotry.
All he does is ride the coattails of the guy who made Black Mirror. You know, that's all you.
Society. Once you've made that choice, you don't get any sympathy. You just become a bullet point in a presentation about disenfranchisement. Like that's.
But notice how he's, that's black and white. You know, if you're one of these people, then you're a cynic and loser. Then you are just a bullet point in a PowerPoint presentation. You don't matter. You lost your claim to matter as a person because I disagree with you.
Yeah, it's good. There is no gray morality. There is no gray morality to Gamergate. There's no gray morality to Trump. These are bad things, and if you support them, you're a bad person.
Oh yeah,
and that justifies anything that I say or do to you.
How do you get through the day, Matt Lees? How do you wake up and say, my dick is bigger than everyone else, and then go to bed at night without even having a moment of self-awareness? I don't understand.
And what happens next is different. Like the scale of disenfranchisement we're going to see over the next 10, 20 years is going to be so much bigger than this small bubble of men who didn't really find what they wanted in life. And
projection much?
Yeah, shit. I mean, I don't know. Socially, people tend to be getting better and better and better. So I don't know where this whole disenfranchised... Maybe you should stop telling people and teaching them that they're disenfranchised.
Yeah, what I think is he's going to be able to... he's going to be able to look in 5 years. He's going to be able to look back and say he's right, because what's happening is people are turning away from people like him, and they're turning away from gaming media and onto YouTube. Yeah. So he's going to say, "Oh, they're disenfranchised. They're entitled people who are disenfranchised, and they're no longer, these are the gamers who don't matter."
Matt Lee's
shouting into
social
a void.
Warrior obsession with not having discussions is ultimately what that does is they're only going to get people who follow them. It's like throwing spaghetti on a wall and seeing what sticks, and you get what you get because there's no actual discussion or debate or back and forth. Whereas people on the other side will debate and they will have discourse, and they won't close their comment sections and block everybody en masse on Twitter. And when they get into these back and forths, you don't see debates between, feminists and anti-feminists or social justice warriors and their anti-equivalents, and where it consistently goes good for the feminists and the social justice warriors, because in a discourse and in a discussion, everything that they want falls flat. They rely on a lack of opposing sides, and that's why you can't go to Matt Lee's Twitter if you're bad, or you think the wrong thing, or where you challenge the narrative, or you say something along the lines of being so crazy as to suggest that you said a thing without any data and as a fact. It's like it's your video and you don't have, there's more support for people who aren't there to see you. That's pretty telling a lot of the times.
It is.
It's not going to be their fault as well. So I think a key thing here is we need to be proactive about this, not reactive. We need to kind of forget about Gamergate in a way. We need to remember it and be like, that was awful. God.
Every 5 seconds. It was Gamergate. It was Gamergate.
But also, don't try and deal with these people. Don't try and change these people. These people have...
That's such a terrible attitude to have.
It's black and white.
Awful.
You said you want an honest discussion, you son of a bitch. Which is it? You want honest discussion, or you want to just dehumanize and deperson people entirely?
Yeah, it's like this is
what he wants.
This is the presentation version of Block Then Mock is really what it is.
Yeah,
I mean it's such a terrible attitude to have. Don't even engage with them. Don't even talk to them. Don't even try to change their minds. It's like, well, don't you want your idea to be the prevailing idea? Like that's the thing. That's what we want. We think our ideas are the best. We want a lot of people to think them. We think it's best. Yeah. And you're not even willing. I mean, how can you believe? I mean, religions want to have the most followers possible. Ideologies want to have the most followers possible. And I just don't. How do you expect to get to that point if you won't even talk to people who don't agree with you?
Makes no sense.
It's such a terrible attitude. It's such a defeatist attitude. Really, is what it is. It's like, don't you think
the goal is
to change their mind?
The goal is to turn people to his side by making it socially unacceptable to be on the other side. So it's not about convincing other people; it's about shaming them into, if you're a Gamergate, then you're a horrible person, and we're going to shun you. So then you should be against Gamergate. He's not making an argument; he's just drawing lines.
I'm kind of glad that he is as hardcore as he is, because if he were actually a convincing person, he might actually sway people into his side, and then they would pull this shit 10 years from now, and then we'd have to wait to fight it.
Look at J-Mac, what he's doing, and Jonathan McIntosh. Is like if you don't be so batshit insane, then you can have a voice that people can enjoy. But I mean, look at this slide. The concrete houses they built are finished. He has declared that if you don't think like him, there's no way he could change your mind. What does that say about your position, Matt? If anything, that says it's awful.
The concrete houses they built are finished. That's basically a synonym of gamers are over again.
He's
saying here. He actually quotes Leigh Alexander later on.
Yeah, I think he finishes with that line.
Positive change is possible, but don't talk to people who disagree with you. It's like, well, I mean, what do you want, man? what do you want? It's just the same slide. You didn't even put a couple slides between this stuff. It's like there's 3 inches. I mean, come on.
I've already
built
houses.
It's like a monkey at a typewriter.
This next slide is I love this next slide though.
Let's give it a go.
Out.
All right,
am I gonna screech? I'm gonna screech.
Concrete.
Okay, Pete. Someone start it. All right.
Oh, okay.
So I keep clicking it and it's pausing.
They're done. They're like, we kind of need to forget about them and be reactive and look at the future. Because I think This doesn't need to be about damage limitation. If we look at what happened in 2014 and look at the 10, 15 years of games and marketing that led up to that moment, we can now look at what we can do in the future and actually make a positive change, have things being good rather than less bad. But to do that, we need to kind of basically put all this stuff to one side and start again afresh with these learnings. We see what happens when you wean the disenfranchised on fantasies of power, aggression, and control.
What does happen? What happen, Matt? Yeah, tell me what happens, Matt.
Citation needed.
He is so smug.
He's like, see what happens?
Look at that
like, what does happen? No, seriously, what does happen?
I just want to yell at him. Oh
the
my
games
God.
industry is getting more games of more types. It is becoming more diverse, like they've always wanted. It's getting more people into it. It's becoming more global and connected.
Yep.
It's becoming an
All
industry
good things.
powerhouse. And
Snake oil you're trying to sell is
let
not
these
working.
happen. He's just gonna let these things happen, and they are happening normally, naturally, without any resistance. Do you think when Journey came out, were any gamers mad at Journey? No, they were saying, "Oh, Journey looks kind of cool. Okay, yeah, I'll play it. Oh, I'm touched. I'm crying now. Okay, you know, I cried when I was playing Journey." So I don't think it was a great game, but it was a great experience. You know.
I haven't had tears in a game in a while. I need to get myself some sad stories going.
Yeah, go play some Journey.
I shed a tear in Titanfall 2. I'll admit it. I'm man enough to say that.
Titanfall 2 is a very tear-shedding game, yes.
It's bad. Let's stop.
Other
Other fantasies are available, you know? Some of the trends that we see the next generation latching onto are really interesting. Things like Minecraft, collaboration, growth, people working together. Trust as well. This idea that you can let someone come and do something with you and trust. They're not going to destroy your stuff.
Okay, that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole.
Wait, guys, stop pressing the video. Stop pressing the video. Every time I stop it. Okay. But with trends that. Okay, I guess Dream Daddy is. We all know what happened with Dream Daddy and the artists and the Rule 34 stuff, and so maybe that's not the best example to trot out as a pro-social justice argument.
Mm-hmm. And even besides that. Ding Dong or whatever his name is, like he went on a huge 20-minute live stream rant about how the artist not like the artist who made the Rule 34 shit or whatever, the ones who actually made the game and who designed the game had this specific political message in mind. It was really interesting.
I don't know anything about it. All I know is that you date dads, so there you go.
Yeah,
there we go. I need a Dream Doggy simulator. It'd be great.
Loved it.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start it.
It's about love and friendship, and it was really, really sweet. Dream Daddies, it's like dating dads. And, you know, again, that was something that was heavily supported by internet celebrities who kind of made that a thing. You know, it wasn't like it came out of nowhere just because people love gay dads. That would have been wonderful. It's not the whole truth.
Did you just assume that all people who play that game were male?
A lot of players of that are actually women.
I bet, you know. I absolutely believe that, yeah. As far as Dream Daddy goes, though, that game, it was such a pure concept for a game, and it got ruined. I mean, it took, 10 days for Dream Daddy coming out until the developers had to tell people to stop sending death threats?
Yeah, because the developers themselves were fine, right? They're not, you can argue that they're progressives or that they're leftists or something, but they're not social justice warriors, right? They just wanted to make a game that was fun and that anybody could enjoy, and you could play as a man or as a woman. It didn't matter, right? You could date the dads. The dads didn't really have any sexual preferences of their own. That was cool. And then the SJW said, "Go and ruin it."
It was just, for those of you in the chat, especially who don't know what happened, but there was an artist who drew. What rule is it? Rule 64 or something?
65.
Rule 65, which is basically gender bending. And one of the dads is transgender.
63.
63. So they gender bended a transgender character just because he was the artist. Is a she, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a she.
Yeah, her name was O Nips or something.
Yeah, O Nips, and she's a Hispanic artist. She's, I believe, Puerto Rican.
She drew these characters gender bent, and that's a strange word to say. Gender bent. And since one of them was trans, this was supposed to be an attack on trans people, and she got death threats. And that's how bad it got. And it was awful. It was terrible. So, I mean, that's what the Dream Daddy community did to something that harmless. What should have been fun and interesting and cool to look at was turned into death threats that had to be addressed directly by the developers.
Yeah.
The world
Faster
of
than the
Tumblr is a
Steven-
dangerous one.
It is. It's
That's in the Steven
poisonous.
universe.
It's insane. Yeah,
It's
they're
scary.
But people are still
this slide
more
is all
open to
about
embracing this stuff. And
alternatives to
Overwatch,
power
just hugely
fantasies.
diverse, unashamedly so.
And right
it
there,
is
he says
filling a
Overwatch.
gap.
Okay,
This is the crucial
I'll take the controls here. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, he says Overwatch is an alternative to the power fantasies because Overwatch has all this diversity where you play
The point
Overwatch.
of the game is to be as strong as possible.
A powerful hero who goes out and kills other people, and it can certainly be a power fantasy. You got all these moves that make you look good. You have the clothes, the skins,
Flashy skins, fancy high-tech weapons, robotic limbs.
Don't they like focus on how fat May is?
Yeah, but she's not actually fat.
Yeah, she just is a.
I find that so weird. They get all the diversity they want, and then they have to find some little thing in one character to latch onto.
Yeah, it was a bug in her waistline on a Chinese New Year costume that people went to shit over it. It's like, guys, you need to chill. You're making mountains out of molehills everywhere you go.
Yeah.
crucial thing. Like for a long time, disenfranchised young men were the only disenfranchised audience. But now there's
Citation needed.
a lot of disenfranchised people out there. Do a different fantasy. Do something.
There's less than there used to be. I'll tell you that. There's a whole lot less than there used to be. Society is getting more and more free, and legally everyone's becoming more and more equal. I don't know where you pull this whole there are more disenfranchised people now
Lies.
than ever before. I don't see that. I just don't see that.
I don't see it either. It's like, where is this coming from?
Like, now that we've had 8 years of a black president elected by a white majority country, is like all these. It's like, can't you just? It's like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But you gotta have victims. You have to have victims to pander to. You have to make sure there's always winners and losers, because you have to be the friend of the people who've been put down. And if they don't exist, then you will tell them that they are. And many of them will believe you, because we have to weaponize victimhood.
Positive. And you know what?
Fucking shit, this part I remember.
I think a key thing here is that controversial is good. I think if you're doing something controversial in games right now, in mainstream games, any decision that is controversial just means different. Just means it's not exactly what's come before it. So if you're not doing something...
And right there,
what about the last night, huh? Oh, what about that, you little piece of shit?
Man, it's just, this
Right
is
there,
such
my-
bullshit from his mouth.
Controversial is good unless it's something we disagree with.
yeah, in my video, I mentioned that Matt Lees, because the developer of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter he wasn't really pro Gamergate, but he was pro listen to Gamergate. He wasn't condemning Gamergate. Because of that, Matt Lees took his positive review of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter down.
Yeah.
And he won't review it. He wants controversial games, but apparently he doesn't want controversial developers who he disagrees with.
Oh, dude, he's like the Firewatch developers taking down, trying to they DMCA'd PewDiePie because they don't like him, right? It's
because they already milked out all that they could off of the coverage PewDiePie gave him.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm
That's
doing
gonna follow
good,
the
Tripod,
Firewatch.
by the way. I'm doing really good. But let me.
Yeah.
It's just the controversy is good, but no comment section and block you on Twitter. But it's good to be controversial. It's good. It's just he's a walking hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he says.
And someone was asking in chat, how is Vanishing of Ethan Carter controversial? It wasn't. It's the developer's opinion on Gamergate is what was controversial, and because of that, Matt Lees
Game
took
is tainted,
review down.
apparently. That's what they say. They say that a developer's opinion taints the game. Or some shit like that.
I don't know. It's pretty. Let's put that out again. See if people missed it. Oh boy. Let me get back to this. Here we go.
vaguely controversial, you're probably not doing anything interesting. I mean,
Oh yeah, God forbid. Interesting.
even in like the most recent Zelda thing, which I did a big video on recently,
Make
had
sure
some
to
odd stuff to
run
do
to
with
that.
Here
this
he's
idea
making
of
comment,
impermanence,
subscribe.
this idea of trying to encourage players to live in the moment, not to hoard things, not to collect, not to kind of have traditional capitalist kind of inspirations. And
There we go. There we go. There we go, you son of a bitch.
Hi, I'm Matt Lees. Watch me turn The Legend of Zelda into anti-capitalist propaganda.
Oh, shit. There we go.
Oh, man.
Zelda would have been Antifa if she was real.
Wow, it's just like, let's make a leap. That's what Zelda's mechanics were about, letting go of material. Oh, man. Oh.
That has been done in a few games. Lots of games trying to encourage players not to hoard things, and people really don't like it. But it's because it doesn't fit the status quo of like our...
Well, it depends on how it's done. It's such a broad kind of mechanic. The disposability of items and limited usefulness and constantly having to think on your feet, not being able to have tried and true either inventory items or possessions that you can always rely on. Just having to use this and move on, use this, move on. It's used to keep games fresh. It's used to keep the player moving and mobile. It prevents staleness in a game, to encourage them to try new things. That is to think that is some way anti-capitalist message it's insane.
Yeah, that's a game mechanic argument, an issue that you're talking about, and it can be a very interesting issue, except unless you start making it all freaking political.
Pretty sure the devs weren't thinking about that when they made it. I'm just gonna call it a hunch, and they said they were probably just thinking, "Hey, let's challenge the player by making limited inventory space." That's it. That's all you got to say.
And the thing is, too, when you can have the best of both worlds. Look at games like Resident Evil 4, and it's it's a attaché case system where every item had space, and you had a limited amount of space. You had to choose what you had to keep, what was important to you, what wasn't. Combining the best of hoarding, and also you have to know what's disposable and what isn't. But to say that this mechanic, which has been around for ages and ages and ages, before I was born, probably. Has some sort of political. It all comes back to the everything's political. It's like, no, Matt, everything isn't political. No. Sometimes people just want to have fun in a video game. You wouldn't know about that because video games aren't supposed to be fun.
Our generation knows about it. Next generation,
the Communist Manifesto.
We can do what we want. It's like we don't need to follow these old things. And this is a key thing here as well. Is like Brenda Romero always says, the mechanic is the message. It's not about making games that are like, hey, let's fill our games with gay dads. Hey, let's make games that shows that racism is bad. You can, just by having mechanics that are different and interesting and not reflections of our current world, be making quite radical products that will affect the thinking of a new generation.
Okay, here's a
unless
suggestion.
It's the wrong vision. Unless it's the wrong vision.
It won't affect their thinking.
South Park, the new South Park game has a difficulty slider based on the color of your skin.
It's funny.
Which I find it very...
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
They're pissed off about that, even though that's exactly what they asked for.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I don't think it. I think it's silly, but I think it's hilarious.
Yep.
But this
wasn't
exactly
it just a joke though?
I think it probably is South Park, so everything's probably tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I can't wait to play that game.
It's gonna be so good.
The Fractured.
Yeah.
Is it next month or did they delay it until next year?
Amazing name, The Fractured Butthole.
Let me look it up.
Oh man, it's great. Now let's listen to him shit on Animal Crossing.
And you know what? The future does require radical thinking. I love Animal Crossing, but we can't just keep having games in which people can buy a house.
Oh, let them keep going.
Yeah, I want to hear this. I want to hear him.
All right, let's start with the. I just
world be making quite radical products that will affect the thinking of the new generation.
Don't get
triggered. And you know what? The future does require radical thinking. I love Animal Crossing, but we can't just keep having games in which people can buy a house because it's not realistic. And I don't know what the end game of that is, but in the same way when you had a generation of people being told that you can control everything and dominate women, and then they couldn't and they got mad.
It's a video game, you motherfucker!
Oh my god, what
about the fact that you shoot people in GTA? It's not realistic to do that in real life. When you slash people,
nothing is safe.
Oh my god!
Animal Crossing needed to go through a housing crisis and needed to go through.
It's like you don't have a house, you have an apartment. You live with your parents. You don't move to your own town. Yeah. You live with your parents. Also, one of your parents is an animal. Go figure that out. When it comes to this, it's like the town. You use bells as currency. You can sell apples for $100. It's just. People don't look at Animal Crossing as a representation of reality. You can't. It's silly. The people are animals. It's like fur affinity diet. I don't understand where you could get this idea from.
like I'm triggered.
When I played Animal Crossing, I've played the GameCube one and I've played 2 on the DS, and they've all been fabulous.
I can't anymore.
I was like, I should buy a house. I was like, but Animal Crossing told me that I should be able to buy a house the second I move into a new town. It's like no one.
Oh, did they call the raccoon racist?
It's just. I mean, you got to find the anti. If anything, you should encourage people to go for these goals. And Animal Crossing, it teaches meritocracy. It teaches that you work hard.
It does.
You have goals to overcome, and you chip away at those goals slowly and surely, and you'll get where you need to go. Just don't be a victim. Don't let other people victimize you. And just be consistent. Have and set goals, and you can get the things that you want. Yep. And even if that wasn't true, and of course there's always some example where it doesn't happen. It's just reality. But even then, that should be the message you teach people. You don't tell a child they're oppressed and victimized. You tell them that they're the king of the world and they could do it if they work hard.
Damn right.
And I don't even have kids. What the fuck do I know? It's because mommy, daddy raised me right.
Fucking Rocky music right now, you know. Eye of the Tiger.
Oh man, there you go. Rant over. Yeah.
I'm not sure what the long-term effect is of everyone playing games where meritocracy is actually a system that works.
I knew it was coming.
Look at this fucking expression. Just fucking caption that. What an asshole.
The long-term effects of people playing games where hard work pays off. Ugh.
Yeah, he's going to say something just like that over and over here to wrap it up. And he's going to say that what kind of behaviors do these games encourage? And they don't encourage. They're freaking video games.
If anything, Animal Crossing is such a great game for kids to play, especially young kids, because there's no fail state. Right.
Yep.
So they don't have to worry about failure. They progress.
Teaches you about chores and responsibility.
You do chores. You come up with things to do. You allocate your time. You allocate your money towards what you want. It's great in that aspect because you get the house upgrades and your house gets bigger and bigger. And you can only make so many bells a day doing these, doing tasks. So how much do I want to buy furniture-wise? How much do I want to put towards the new house? How much do I want to do this? You have limited resources for the most part, but you don't have to worry about dying or getting steamrolled by another player. It's just how it teaches people to budget in a
what it is?
way.
It's like XCOM Lite, where you're working against. Teaches you management. Teaches you management. It's a good thing.
It's a thing about it's a game that's about working, but it doesn't feel like work. It's like the way World of Warcraft is to some. Even though
I love management games, right? Like XCOM is a terrific example of a management game. Not Sim Theme Park, but like the new one, Roller Coaster, right? The Planet Coaster. That's also a great management game.
I'm saving this, but I'm saving a screenshot of this because that's the perfect gamer's face right there. I just thank you, Shadowplay. I'll be taking that.
All these management games, they teach children how to manage their time and their budget and allocate their resources in order to get the most out of life, out of their daily activities and so on. Because there's only so much time we have in the world. There's only so much money that we can make to spend or whatever. And these games teach us that at a young age. I mean, I used to play, Sim City. I used to play Sim Farm as a child, and now I know how to manage my fucking money thanks to these fucking games. It works. I'm kind of a moron, yeah.
That's kind of a double-edged sword there, because it just like it can't encourage you to be violent. The game's not really teaching to be good with your budget.
Right, it's not a one-to-one, right?
Yeah, it's just sort of like you only have so much money. How much do you want to put to the? You can't have.
It's a principle of it.
Crossing.
Yeah, it teaches you the basic. Right, it teaches you the basic principles of management of managing your time and your money and so on.
It's like Baby's First Budget by Fisher Price is what
exactly.
It is,
exactly. Yeah.
It takes the concept to in a very easy to digest and fun way. And
and that's what that's why kids learn from playing video games. I mean, how do you think I learn how to speak English and I sound American even though I'm not American at all?
What's up with your cultural appropriation?
I just hang out with people on the internet, and besides that, I watch movies and I play video games where I learned, I played a fuck ton of RPGs, all these, 10,000, no, not 10,000, it'd be like 100,000 word RPGs, Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, learning words that I didn't even understand and how to use them. I mean, that was all educational. Like, this idiot here, pointing at the screen, he might be like, look, those games are violent, but me, that's not what I took away from them.
Imagine
I took away how to write
Matt
stories.
Lee's idea of an educational video game be? I mean, I know my sphincter clenches when I say that, but what would if Matt Lee's was in charge of making, early stages or educational or morality-based video games where it teaches people, he's like, kid shows. There's always a moral in a kid show. Share, be nice, don't hit people, don't punch Nazis, that sort of thing. But you should always, what is his idea of that game?
I know the answer. It's whatever people that he thinks are intellectually superior to him says is good.
Yeah,
that's the closest he'll ever get to thinking for himself.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. That's actually a perfect answer.
You're welcome.
Let me look at the let me cool off with the super chats. Matt is just, it's insane. These people are real.
Yeah.
Alex Abbott, $10. Thanks very much, Alex. If you talk with others who oppose your viewpoint, you might start to agree and legitimize them. Better not to talk at all and just use emotional pleas instead of facts. And there is it's about emotions. It's about feelings. How does this make you feel? Does this make you feel validated? Then it must be better. I was like, you're disenfranchised because we told you to, but it's okay because we'll blame somebody else and stuff like that. But thanks very much, Alex, for the $10. That's a good point. You should let your brain do the thinking and your heart do the feeling, and remember, you should stay in your lane, heart. Dark 666105, because there were 666,104 other people named Dark, I guess. Dark, $5. In Breath of the Wild, if my weapon breaks, I'm hoarding every weapon I can get. It is hyper-consumer, if anything. I didn't play Breath of the Wild, but hey, I guess the case can be made. It depends on what you need to. It depends on what you got to try to convince people with. I mean, a lot of games often have a bit of both, as we talked about. So that's definitely probably the case.
I'd argue it's such an expansive fucking world. You can find whatever message you want if you look hard enough.
People throw money in the grass. I mean, it's like, who just like, man, what if I could go out and mow my lawn and make 50 rupees from doing it? Hell yeah, I'd be out there every day. All right, Takun513, $10. Mega Jew. He said Mega Jew. So,
okay.
Takun513, thanks for the $10. Thanks for the shekels, goy. Jack115. Oh, speaking of Jew, I still have to watch Ben Shapiro's Berkeley thing. I see how that went.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I know people are very
I saw it live. I saw it live. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jack115 gave me £5. I'm taking a games interactive media course at college in the UK. I'll be very embarrassed if this guy appears to be my lecturer. Well, don't be surprised. These people have the ear of higher ups, so don't be surprised if it happens, Jack. But thanks all you guys, Dark, Takun, Jack, Alex. Thanks very much. We shall wrap this up now. We are close to the end.
Yep. And being like, yeah, it's fine. You work hard and you'll do well. It's like, it's not the way the world works, and it's gonna.
Even if it isn't, you should teach kids that.
Yeah, you should.
Obviously the world is not perfect.
But you want to make it that way because that is fair.
You want to make it that way, absolutely. You should not give a defeatist attitude and a victimization complex to children.
Yeah.
Because they will carry that with them.
Fucking matter, and you don't want to place them there. Yeah, your ideals are so misplaced, Matt Lees, you rat-faced fuck.
My parents always told me that don't expect the world to just hand you things. You have to work for it. You have to work hard for things. I didn't. My parents are pretty well off, but I never saw any of that. They encouraged me to earn what I needed to go out there and to be successel.
They just didn't want to spend money on you.
Yeah,
throw money at them, chat.
It's hard to believe that at one time they thought that video games were the devil, and But here I am making. Oh, what tangled webs we weave! I'm mom and dad. But I am grateful. Don't get me wrong. I really am. They raised me right.
Going to have a backlash, but it might just be a bit softer. Anyway, I love Animal Crossing. It's cool.
And he's saying that they're going to lose anyway, but at least it won't be as jarring to them. So that's an appeal to emotion right there. That at least when the real world hits them, because of something that might possibly happen to them. It'll still be the exact same outcome. They'll just see it coming a little better. Like, that's such a terrible thing to teach kids.
It's awful. Oh my god. Ugh. It's like expect to lose.
Yeah, let's look at this gazebo turned house.
Oh, I've gone too far. How do I go back?
You can't go back from here, man.
I don't.
There's no one doing what you have said.
Look, radical thinking is difficult. I know this, right? And I know it's really easy for sort of idiots like me to stand on the stage and go, hey,
speculative radical
radically and change the world. It's like, it's what tech is built on.
Rebel against hair.
God. But I think a really key thing you can take away from this, which is really simple, is disenfranchisement is not a dead end. Now, for some people, it is.
Except for some people.
Okay. Except, I mean, disenfranchisement
is not a dead end.
So why would you encourage people that it kind of is?
Yeah. You just told people to write off Gamergate because it's full of disenfranchised white men, and now you're saying it's not a dead end. Which is it, Matt Lees? Which is it?
It's pretty crazy.
Some people, they just find themselves in a bad place and they never get out of it. And then this is when you have the problems with monoculture, when people just immerse themselves in very similar video games with very similar ideals for 15 years and come out of it kind of
really good at shooters.
Needed.
You're coming out really good as an MLG Pro 360 no-scoper. Get on my level, scrub. But yes, indeed, Brad. Citation needed.
Yeah.
There's no evidence, again, to back any of this stuff up.
I just like playing. I've played video games pretty darn religiously ever since I got out of ever since I went to college, and I think I'm better off for it. But not because they put any particular ideology in my head, but because they expose me to new ideas and new concepts and cool art and stories and characters. I mean, it's not brainwashing; it's just exposing you to new things, and a lot of those things you'll like.
Yeah.
In his entire presentation. In his entire presentation, there's no, like, he puts pictures that complement his own words, but he doesn't have any freaking graphs.
I don't actually know what the house, the gazebo house, has to do with.
I don't even.
Disenfranchisement is not a dead end.
I don't know.
I actually don't know. House. However, that would be a dope sauce house to live in. So
Frodo Baggins of Bag End is disenfranchised or something.
It looks like a super Hobbit house, is what it looks
with a wrong head of view of what reality is like. But for most people just end up being disenfranchised for a while, and people come out of the other end.
How does he know?
Yeah, and the thing is, let me shit on capitalism, but also say that disenfranchised people can get out of it. It's like, okay, I got you.
Capitalism isn't that bad after all, huh?
Yeah, I guess not. It's like, but you fucking teaching people you could buy houses. That's fucking terrible.
But the thing is, the key thing about this is video games are almost like...
Sorry, small tangent. My brother and I, ages ago, we would have the same town in Animal Crossing on the GameCube. And we would fight for the affection of villagers. Like, we would see who could get them to like us the most because they would say who their best friend is.
That's great.
That's how my brother and I fought.
We need that on the Switch.
It's like, no, the squirrel loves me.
Why isn't that on the Switch?
Nerds.
I hope that I hope it is.
I hope Okami gets the Switch. Akami HD's coming out.
That's the thing. It's going to PS4, Xbox, and PC, but not Switch.
That's weird.
What?
I know.
Also, Stardew Valley is like the perfect Switch game too.
Oh yeah.
But hopefully we will see another Animal Crossing, even though I probably won't get a Switch.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have.
I would love to have another Animal Crossing. It's such a great game, even though it teaches you about meritocracy.
The devil.
They're almost like a house that people go into when they're disenfranchised. And some of those people are going to play a lot of games for a few months or a few years, and then they're going to get better, and their lives are going to get better.
It's looking pretty nice. It's got flowers and everything around it.
What is he talking about?
But some of these people aren't. And some people are going to be disenfranchised, and then they're going to come out of it, and they're going to end up in worse places. You know, they might end up in hate groups. They might end up being terrorists.
Yeah, for living in that nice gazebo house. Okay.
Yeah. Listen. When has he actually said what disenfranchised means to him?
No.
If a game doesn't give you the feeling of freeing yourself from slavery, it's a bad game.
I don't know. I would like to hear actually from him what he considers disenfranchisement to really be.
The definition of disenfranchisement. I don't think he's actually defined it. Yeah.
Well, has he ever actually said? I know we skipped a bit, but did he actually ever say what cultural complicity really was?
No, not really. No.
Okay, well, that's all right. That's stuff you learn in grade school.
Alludes to it. he alludes to it, but when he should have nailed to it, if this was his supposed presentation.
Yeah, this should have been either the thesis statement or the one right after it. I mean, it's just pretty simple stuff. But I guess ambiguity is a social justice warrior's best friend, isn't it?
Yeah, because they don't
and
have any
I think the
points.
key thing with this is if you,
because it's not about principles. It's not. That's the thing. It's like they don't argue based on principles.
No, they don't.
And everything.
It's about dogma.
If you don't have a solid foundation like that, then everything can fall apart. That's why it's not about debate with a lot of these guys.
Correct.
you've got the opportunity. If you had someone coming into your house and you were like, somebody told you, hey, this guy in like 2 years, he's going to be a terrorist. But he's going to be in your house for like 2 weeks.
Shoot
or like
him.
2 months. Wouldn't you want to like say something?
See,
Wouldn't you want to like...
right
it
here.
doesn't matter what you do because he's going to be a terrorist anyway, but that's...
Is he encouraging racial profiling? Is he encouraging racial profiling?
No, what he's saying is that you're creating a video game and somebody could become a terrorist, so maybe your message in your video game will take them away from becoming a terrorist. And that does not happen. I mean, unless they get really addicted to the game and they're like, screw you, I'm not going to go suicide bomb. But
there are outlying strange people out there who are not the norm and that you can't cater to. They're just unusual. That's the nature of the beast when it comes to individuality. And I mean,
telling
that's why
people to cater to the outliers.
It's
but
just, there's just people out there like that.
This is exactly the same Jack Thompson argument that video games affect our real world behavior.
It's the game's fault and we have to step in and control it and do something. It's the moral thing to do. We're going to make the moral argument. And when we can make the moral argument, we can justify doing anything.
He wants social engineering through video games. That's
absolutely
exactly what he wants.
Video games are the new big thing. Not the new, but they're the big thing coming up. They're becoming so mainstream. They have to get onto that, and they have to ride to the top with it. Because that's how they'll change a lot of people, they think.
Forget that games can't socially engineer people. I mean, you're not going to have a bunch of games make kids into fascists, even whatever he says. He makes that argument that they do make fascists, but no, that doesn't happen. And why would you want video games to? Why would you use video games to try to socially engineer all these kids? Why? I can tell why, but it's just
about power and influence.
Yeah.
Through the video games, you're right there. And what's interesting though is that anecdotally, at least, the first time I ever heard the word fascist was in Call of Duty 2, years and years and years ago. I played it on my sweet grandmother's Inky Dinky Dell laptop. It barely run it, but I was like, Dad, all these Russians, we're calling these Nazis fascists. What does that mean? And it was Call of Duty 2 that made me learn that fascists are bad. Okay. And then and then I was like, communists are also really bad. I was like, so are we the bad guy? That's his whole thing. Yeah. It's like only when you need to be.
What this reminds me a lot of is what they want is, I don't know if you ever saw the Captain Planet cartoon.
Yep.
Or you ever heard of where they have all these kids who are a very diverse set of kids, men, women, all different colors, races.
Drawing is like Indian, but we're out of elements. Heart, your element is heart.
They come together to save the planet from evil, oil producers and stuff. It's an attempt at social engineering through, they're trying to get to the kids to save the world by showing them, saving the planet is cool. It's just,
Captain Planet was the power is yours, right? That was Captain Planet. Right?
Yeah, that's Captain Planet.
The power is yours. At least it was an empowering message. At least they're not saying the Earth is doomed and it's your fault and there's nothing you can do. Now go buy a house.
Hey, I don't know. I just feel like there's this opportunity where video games are a point in a lot of people who end up being disenfranchised. And if we can try and speak to people...
Who gets disenfranchised through video games? Video games are so empowering and encouraging.
He's saying video games appeal to disenfranchised people.
I mean, I guess because... But then that goes back into how they're the ultimate meritocracy. It doesn't matter how big your bank account is. You're all the same in the video game. Everyone has to abide by the same rules, and it's just skill. And games that break away from that often get bombed and they die out, or they get reviewed poorly, or a lot of people don't play them.
Unless it's pay to win.
That's why people hate pay to win mechanics so much, because they abhor even if they can't put a name to it, they love the idea that video games are a meritocracy, and that the biggest bank account doesn't get you victory in a video game, because it's about practice, and it's about learning, and it's everyone abiding by the same rules regardless of what gender you are, what your religion and nationality and ethnicity and social status are.
Personal satisfaction is a thing. And if you just buy everything, you're not going to have fun in the fucking game in the first place. You just bought everything, and you're just going to feel like you skipped to the end and didn't really get to the, through the journey part.
In a meaningful way, and give them new ideas about the world, then we might actually be able to make people come back out of it easier and not end up going to these really dark places.
Except Gamergaters, you can't save them.
Yeah, they're far gone, too far gone. Their concrete houses have already hardened, I guess. You don't build houses out of concrete. That's not, you just fucking just...
To put a word in someone's ear. It's a kind of weird thing to think about, but I think it's important. And here's finally just some practical solutions, because I don't like airy-fairy kind of nonsensical presentations.
Yes,
if you're making a game,
clearly do.
Examine what behaviors your game is encouraging. I think that's a simple thing. Question the explicit and implicit messages in your game, the things that you're directly telling players, but also just things that are being implied about.
Examine the implicit messages in your game. How the fuck are you going to do that?
Because
of fun out of it.
The first point there is the most important, because it's exactly what I've been saying the whole time. Examine what behaviors your game encourages.
What behaviors?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever done anything even remotely in real world because of a video game. Maybe punched a mouse or something.
You punched a mouse? Holy shit.
Yeah, punched my mouse.
Oh, I thought you meant like a mouse like isn't out.
Computer mouse.
I was like,
yeah.
no. Fuck poof.
Yeah.
But I don't
slammed it
I mean,
with my fist.
I think that like video games have the power to influence people. I think they often can. They can expose you to new ideas, and you could meet people through them. And maybe you see a character you really like in a video game and you want to emulate them in some way, maybe. But I think those are all individual things, and there doesn't seem to be, it certainly doesn't call you to action. It doesn't call you to violence, but I think it can broaden your horizons in terms of what you think, or maybe it can expose you to non-violent solutions, perhaps. I don't know. That's the thing. It's just each person has to look at that for themselves, and I don't know. Maybe I have more faith in a normal person's ability to ascertain the difference between reality and fantasy. And I don't know. Maybe Matt Lees doesn't think that the normal person knows the difference. Who knows?
He thinks Twitter is a video game, so...
That's right.
The world. Think about the way that your game encourages interactions with other...
Oh, and before we call it, this second thing here, question the implicit messages in your game. You can do that until the cows come home, and you'll never find all the implicit messages that people can draw from it, and then you'll never get anything done. So that is a fool's errand right there.
Like, yeah, people made the Mass Effect 3 indoctrination theory, and the developer said that was just a crock of shit. So, and that's an implicit message, and people really developed that shit pretty detailed, and they just said nope.
I mean, there's video game theories based on this stuff, but I think they're going into like what subconsciously does a person who plays this game think. I think, like I said, I think that's a fool's errand. You'll be chasing that forever, and it's a boogeyman. The subconscious is a boogeyman, and you can't. There's only so much you can do about it.
As you said earlier with Anita Sarkeesian in BioShock Infinite, her takeaway from that, the message that she gleaned from that game was that, you know, everything's a gray area and there's no morality or anything like that. You know, which is totally weird.
She didn't even word it like that. That's the thing. Like, if she would have come out and said, because that kind of was the point, was that there's, you know, like, there's no good and evil, really. There's a spectrum and organizations and ideologies. They can go too far, and you can't just, violence isn't the answer to your problems, because look, it turns monsters out of men. But it was her take. She said that the point was to show that if you're oppressed, you're just as bad as the person oppressing you. And
yes.
That was so off the mark. It's what game did you play, Anita? Of course, the answer is none, because Anita doesn't play video games. So there.
Correct. Yeah.
Others, whether that's a multiplayer game or not. And I think this is a key one. Imagine that your game wholly defines someone's viewpoint for the world. Imagine that somebody just...
Why would you?
There it is.
Why would you do that?
Ian, remember you mentioned this earlier, and look at how he brings this up.
Imagine that your game wholly defines so like be a emotionally unhealthy, psychotic individual. I just don't.
Yep.
Why would you ever do this? Why would you ever do this? I mean, why? Imagine your game wholly defines someone's viewpoint for the world. That we put those people into sanitarium. Do we call them? I don't think we call them sanitariums anymore.
Asylums.
Asylums. We call them. Why did I say sanitarium? Imagine that your game. Why? This is such a. If someone does this, they have something wrong with them. All right. If somebody looks at fantasy and that is their entire definition of reality as a result, that's bad, and that person needs help. You don't need to.
But the thing is, if that's true, if that were true, that it does define someone's viewpoint, then you can socially engineer these people with your message in the video game. So, you know, I'm sure he knows it's not true, that it doesn't happen, but I'm quite sure that he also wishes it were true.
If ands and buts were candy and nuts, what a wonderful Christmas we'd have.
Plays your game for like 10 years. What would they think about the world based on that? And that seems like really stupid, but I honestly think this gradual bleed of culture, and when games are all very, very similar, I think it's a thing.
No, I don't think games are very similar at all. There's a huge variety.
That's a lot of different.
There is a huge variety in games. There are game types out there. Yeah, there are game types out there that you've never heard of. Games are so diverse, not just in the representation of this person, that person. That's the types, the qualities. I hate this notion that they're not diverse, because a lot of the popular games are a couple things. Yeah, sure, absolutely, but there are so many games, and there are all so many successful games of so many different types. I mean, we just had Divinity Original Sin 2 launch, with wild success, and people want these games because not everyone likes shooters. Not everyone likes RPGs. Not everyone likes MOBAs. I think don't sell games short.
You know, some of us like all of them, though. You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like people, and a lot of people would like a lot of things that they just haven't tried yet, too. So who can even really measure what people like? Well, I mean, the market decides to some degree, really. I mean, there's a reason these games make money, and there's a reason a lot of people make them, is what people want. But don't sell games short, Matt. I mean, and don't sell gamers short. Ultimately, that pisses them off, and they don't like you because people don't like being called fascists.
Yep.
And if you're selling games, then I think about the impact
pricks like
of
Matt Lees tried to think for them and try to say things for them and tried to represent them.
It's identity politics. Here's what you are because of this. You know, you are this, so this is everything about you. All I need to know about you is that you're a white male. All I need to know about you is that you're a black female. All I need to know about you is, you know, A, B, or C.
They put you in a fucking box and tell you this is what you are.
Yeah, and you should be ashamed for things that you did not do, and you should. It's a mess. Identity politics is absolutely cancerous.
Yeah.
That you're selling? I think that if you're reselling fantasies that have already been sold by society, that are kind of been missold, then that's not a good pattern to get into. You're going to end up, people will buy them, but people are going to end up angry, and they might come for you.
Then they won't buy them. Matt, do you think Fallout 4's do you think Fallout 5 will have?
Probably not as much as it could have.
Yeah. Do you think that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare sales, which just came out of nowhere? I mean, people see trends in games, and people read reviews. I mean, again, people are not stupid. All right? If people remember the games that you make. How many? It's weird. When I bought Hellblade and I was looking at the reviews for it after I had finished it, I want to get people's thoughts on it because it's a very unorthodox game. Yeah. A lot of people it's constantly people were referencing, well, people remember Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry and stuff like that. I was like, people remember the games that you make.
They remember, yeah.
People remember. They don't forget. And
I didn't like that game because I didn't.
Which one?
The latest one. I mean, the Hellblade.
I think that's possible game of the year for me.
Because I mean, the story is nice, but I feel like the gameplay actually gets in the way of it. If that makes sense.
Because, it's interesting.
Because the combat is fine and all, but the puzzle parts are basically super fucking tedious. The pixel hunts, right?
Yes, sort of. I felt like they were done cleverly enough, and that there was enough. I felt they were simple enough for me to kind of go through easily enough and get to the next thing.
I didn't have a problem with them, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't challenged. You know, I didn't feel like they were difficult enough to merit a challenge.
I don't think it was very challenging in terms of being a game.
They were boring,
but
yeah,
I certainly wasn't bored by it. It was a steady stream of progression for characters and story, advancement. So I thought it was. I think it did a good job at pacing. But that's just me. So.
Consider who you empower through the nature of your marketing. That's just a really key thing. Like, what are you doing? Are you enabling the status quo here, or are you empowering different people? Think about it.
It's like, there's wrong people to empower, or you talk about disenfranchisement, and you're not empowering the right kind of people. It's like that's I don't know. Of course, this goes back into the whole thing he had about all the the brown-haired white males. It's like he's clearly you connect the dots here, and he's don't empower the brown-haired white male gamers. It's kind of I think
it's hyper focused on race. I think they call that racism if you're judging based on skin color.
No, it's because you can't be racist against white people. You keep up, man. Come on, man. Everyone knows this. You can't be racist against.
I didn't read the fine print under. Yeah,
it was in the definition. He put it in the comment section before he nuked it. It was pretty simple.
About that. And also, every bit of media you put out there is a reflection of who and what you stand for.
No, depiction is not endorsement, Matt. This is ridiculous.
By that rate, Matt Lee's your man of circular logic, who's a piece of shit.
I mean, is a reflection of who and what you stand for. Again, not everything is political. Just because you make a game with a certain type of character or with a certain mechanic, that's not like a reflection of who you are as a person. Especially because games are made by many people, and it's a group effort. Yeah, it's a group effort. A lot of the times, it's not just. Sometimes one person does make a game. And just because people put something in games doesn't mean that's a reflection on who they are on a personal level, and I think that's kind of silly. Some games are obvious, Custer's Revenge maybe, but those are very strange outlying examples.
Indeed, they don't define.
Yeah, definitely not the rule.
I see a lot of this, people being like, yeah, well, we put out this one slightly dodgy Facebook ad, or yeah, well, we did this one thing, and yeah, that press release was a bit off. It's like, no, you got to treat it as the whole thing. Like, your community management needs to be tight, your advertising needs to be tight. You cannot afford just one little bit, because then, as I said earlier, communities are reflective, and once you've got a community,
but how do you even control that? Look at League of Legends.
Yeah, you can't control what your community is. You can influence certain types of people. I guess.
What he's specifically referring to here is that Deus Ex ad where they did the apartheid thing.
All
Lives Matter, which actually was put out.
But you know what's funny? That community is nicer than anyone who even tries to engage the community with dumbing it down or whatever, right? Look at the League community. Super anti-toxicity. They have measures. They have a whole fucking team dedicated to dealing with toxicity, and yet it's probably the worst game out there. Same with Overwatch. Tons of shitheads play it, right?
Fuck yeah. Overwatch players are... I'm glad I'm a filthy casual in Overwatch, because the people who play that game are angry.
All the fucking time.
They are so angry.
Yeah, all the fucking time. Yeah. And yet it doesn't help, right? It doesn't fucking help. They can talk about how great a community they've built is, but anyone who plays it will attest to otherwise, right?
Actually, the Jeff Kaplan says the community is a piece of shit that holds itself back.
Oh, thank God!
I swear to God, toxicity. Like he said this recently.
Oh, really? So he admitted it? Okay, that's good. Because
all the community needs to look at itself because it's super toxic, and I agree. Overwatch is one of the most toxic. Game
Blizzard's Jeff Kaplan says toxic behavior is slowing Overwatch development, and then the article says dealing with toxic behavior is slowing Overwatch development. So yep. And there's a whole developer update.
I mean, like the Call of Duty developers
play nice, play fair.
Altered the Abacan's firing rate by .something%, and they got death threats. So the people are just angry about things.
Rid of it. So just build it carefully. Sorry, I seem like I'm really angry right over here. I'm not. You seem lovely. Finally, embrace complicity and responsibility because it's cool.
Because it's cool.
Yeah, build a cool future. Gulags are cool.
It's all cool. Cool, right, guys?
Oh, you're a gamer. We're not even gonna talk to you. That's a cool future. Yeah.
Cool future.
Treat you like a second-class citizen because your cement house is already built, and there's no way I could possibly change your mind with my opinions. Cool future, dude. Bro.
Do it because it's cool.
It's like Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing's not a cool future. That's a lame future. You can't buy a house. Not everyone. Not everybody can buy a house, so we shouldn't be able to buy one in video games.
He used the same reasoning earlier, where he said it's the way the wind is blowing. So that's that's why you need to get on board, because it's the way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, it's like, what a weak ass argument for your side.
I mean, he may as well say all the cool people are doing it.
Yeah, it's like all the cool people are fucking smoking. So light up, kid.
Build a cool future. Like a lot of this time, people just go, "Oh, just leave us alone. I just want to make a game." And it's like,
I tell you, he's like, he's got it in his mouth. He said it. People just want to be left alone to have their creative visions, but what they want to be. Like Matt says it. Those words come out of his mouth.
They come out of his mouth, and yet
it's not that much extra work. All it requires is for you to actually examine everything a bit more carefully.
It would actually be easier for you, Matt, to stay at home and not ever leave. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about effort here, I mean, and who are you to tell people? It's like, oh, you should do. It's just a little bit more work for you that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm going to tell you how much work you need to do on your project.
And of course, this work costs significant money for these developers.
Yeah, like these are like. I mean, look, the people who made, what was it? The people who made Cuphead, they like took out like second mortgages and shit on their houses to get this stuff done.
They're serious. They're for reals, yeah. And this motherfucker is trying to shit all over them. What investment has he ever done in a video game, really?
Let's be honest. Has he ever made a game? I mean, at least some of these people made shitty games.
No, he's not made a damn thing.
Yeah, it's like, do you create, Matt? Do you add to the world in any way? Do you give people an experience to enjoy?
His resume is two things: one, bitch; two, moan.
Pretty much.
Like, this Gamescom thing, really, it is one big bitch fest. Really, it's all about other people. It all comes down to the social justice mentality. It appeals to people who have an authoritarian mindset. I need to be the one who controls what you do. I'm the one who needs to be telling you you're doing something wrong. So as a result, you need to change it. Because, it's about PewDiePie. Think of the children. It's about Jack Thompson. Think of the violence it could cause. There's some argument that they'll use to justify them taking control without actually doing anything, without actually adding to the world of the industry. If all these people have the right idea, the perfect game should be this, game should be this, well, make that game, Matt. Make that game. If you know what games should be, you have the power in our society to make games if you really want to.
If you really want to, you can do it. Yeah.
It's actually so easy to make a game. Like,
when you don't have a stake in its success or failure, it's so easy to tell people what they should be doing.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But these people success. That's the risk of starting these projects, And when it's not your name or your bank account or your livelihood that's on the line, it's awfully easy to tell other people what they should and shouldn't do with it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Think about how things could be different. And you know what? You'll make better games if you can get your head into the mindset of cultural...
Sure enough, right after I finish that, you'll make better games if you do what I tell you. You do a little extra work and your hands will be...
Critical thinking. The things you make are just going to be better. And that'll be cool. So just give it a go. And I mean, finally, this can still be profitable. Lots of the time people equate this as being like...
so they're going to sacrifice... They're going to gamble everything on the risk that it may or may not be profitable.
Yeah, Ian.
Yeah.
Die for ideology.
This can still be profitable. Why would you even assume that it could not be?
There's no data to support that. There's no, social justice-minded games don't exactly tend to do extremely well, although most of them are indie, so it's hard to tell. But, if you're going to make your game political, then you very well could have some problems.
Yeah. And it's not that... the difference is that you could... between us, make any game you want to, and the market will decide whether or not people like it. At least we're not going to be the ones who say you can't even make the game because it has a certain political message.
If you're going to make a game that no one wants to buy, and it's just not true. And I think some of the games I showed earlier just prove that. Like out of nowhere, we're seeing.
Name game. What examples?
He's talking about Overwatch. Overwatch is there.
Overwatch.
Yeah. But of course. Overwatch is Blizzard, and if Blizzard put, if Overwatch were potatoes shooting each other, people would have bought it, by the millions. So, but there's look at Overwatch. Overwatch has all this diversity, so it's just huge, and it is a success.
It's very diverse, yeah, absolutely. But it's not just diverse in looks, but it's diverse in mechanics. The characters are also different from one another in terms of how they play. It's fresh.
Yeah, you can't just add. Oh, here's a black woman. Here's a gay Mexican.
But she's autistic and she's brown.
And your game's going to be a success. You got to be natural about it. Make the game you want, and make stuff that makes sense.
Diversity of ideas means all of the ideas.
I think Matt Lees is telling people what games to make, and he knows what will work and what games sell and what gamers really want. It's like, so make that game, Matt. But it's easy to stand on the podium.
Be the change you want to be in the world. Yeah, be the change you want to be in the world.
Yeah.
Smash hits that are exactly the sort of game that for years people in marketing have gone, yeah, but no one will buy a game like that. It's like, you're wrong. So.
Beast of what evidence, motherfucker!
I don't know. I don't recall. Maybe I just missed it, but I don't recall people saying a game where you date gay men would never possibly have an audience. I would think that gay men would be the audience for that, or women, or anyone who just wants to play it. I mean, I don't know. He's got all the answers,
Oh, yeah, so he's a fucking prophet.
Yeah. And I mean, finally, something by the fantastic writer Lee Alexander. Gamers don't have to be your audience. This is a key thing, and I think this really ties in.
Lee Alexander, who is no longer a
disenfranchised groups we have
2014 was bad, so let's go back there again. That's what he's saying. 2014 was so bad, let's go right back there.
In quotes, I think gamers is in quotes. Gamers don't have to be your audience. It's like, well, then market your game to non-gamers and see where that fucking gets you.
Yeah.
Well, look where that article landed Leigh Alexander. She's no longer in video games at all. So
just like
apparently she made that website Offworld.
And
I haven't heard of it. I've never heard of it
either.
Yeah, because nobody read it. Nobody fucking read it.
And some other social justice person, they created it. I think it was off of Vice.
No, it wasn't Vice. It was Boing Boing.
Don't worry about the name. I mean, they're all the same, so don't feel too bad about it.
Okay. But the website was called Offworld, and it lasted maybe 6 months,
6 months. Yeah, about 6 months.
Now it is
and it failed, and
following its namesake.
Yeah. So I've
never heard of it. I never heard of Offworld. Maybe
exactly.
My window to know about it was pretty short, but.
She is exactly what you would expect. She put out a call for writers, and the first one that she put out was saying that they're going to pay marginalized people, and they're not going to be paying white men to write for them.
Correct. Yeah.
So
I'm sure that's illegal.
White men.
Those who live by the sword die by the sword.
Yeah, it's like if you're a white man, you can submit your article to us, but we're not going to pay you. So.
Yeah. And so only the cucks submit it, That's just how it works. I hate these people, man. Like, they don't believe in equality at all.
I mean, it's like, imagine telling Toyota, it's like, you need to make cars, but people who drive automobiles don't need to be your audience. Don't try to market this car towards people who drive automobiles on, like, roadways or anything. Like,
there really is nothing like, there's nothing like it where a media has attacked its audience in such a way.
I know it's insane.
Not say attack, but they
imagine
so
Car and Driver magazine just has an article that says, you know what, people who drive vehicles are just awful people.
You know what's happening right now with comic books? That's where it's happening, where they're shitting on their audience.
That's true.
And it shows because no one's buying their shitty comics. Marvel's comics are selling very poorly compared to DC, because DC is actually, still writing for their audience, so people still buy it, right?
And then the audience stays big, and they tell people about it, and people learn about it, and the industry gets big, and I mean, things grow. And
look at what's happening right now. Like, I'm telling you guys about DC, so I mean, there's a good chance that one or two of you are probably thinking, oh, comics are already fucked up, and you're worried about buying any comics. I heard
through the grapevine about how bad Marvel comics were through Appen's videos and through Sargon and all that stuff. People talking about how crappy these Marvel comics are getting, and you see all the pictures and the examples and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere near that.
Yeah, I'm not touching that shit. It's badly written. I mean, I bought some of them just to mock it, right? I bought it.
World Girl?
Yeah. Awful shit. Garbage. Just pure shit. And whereas I buy a DC comic, I can buy a Batman, like one of the New 52 or something, and it's fine. That stuff is fine. It's good old Batman. Hey, nice.
Are they making a White Knight series, or was that a joke?
No, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's real.
But it's not an SJW thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have any actual social justice connotations. You know, it's.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting take on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of people were worried that it had I think Mundane Matt was one of the first to actually worry about it. But then I think it was Bleeding Cool. They were saying it's an SJW thing. Then the writer himself said, no, there's nothing SJW about this at all. You know, I'm not an SJW. He said that on Twitter. So
someone had a good comment. Mr. Rich Low Pitch said they need to market cars. It's like marketing cars to the Amish. It's like it's really what it is. Like you're telling people everyone knows about video games and that they exist, right?
Yep.
Nobody doesn't know what video games are anymore. So you're trying to pitch games to people who know that the industry exists and who have not taken any of the many avenues to get into it already.
Yeah.
So that, in a way, I'm sure you will get some non-gamers into gaming by pitching games to them. Absolutely. But the people who have been supporting you and the people who grow up on them and the people who continue to give you money, many of them will stop giving you that money. And you're not going to get those two groups in and out at a 1-to-1 ratio. I guarantee you that. That's why Andromeda is probably the death of Mass Effect, which pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's 10 years ago. It's not just young men who want to shoot things. And you know what? In the past year, we've seen a lot of games who've been selling
that kind of explains all the non-shooter games there are, doesn't it?
that, failing pretty hard. Like Lawbreakers came out, it is bombing. Titanfall 2 came out last year. Admittedly, at a bad point, but it bombed. Like all this.
That's not,
actually.
Oh my god, that's
not because people are sick of shooters. It's because when it comes to Titanfall 2, which is an amazingly good game.
Yeah, it came at the wrong time.
Yeah, it came out between Call of Duty and Battlefield 1, which I don't have no idea why EA was stupid enough to do that. They should have sat on it for a while and then released it.
They should have released it in February or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and when it comes to Lawbreakers, people clearly want to play shooters like that. Yeah. But Lawbreakers is just some games just release at bad times, or they don't have lasting appeal, or they try.
It came out at the same time as fucking Quick Champions. What did they expect?
Yeah, it's like
didn't
a
have,
Battleborn.
you know.
Yeah,
it didn't build excitement with Lawbreakers, and you know, wasn't all that great of a game anyway. So
right, it's just kind of more Unreal Tournament stuff, and if you want that, that Quake style gameplay, you're going to play Quake Champions, made by id Software.
Yeah,
the marketing is just so much better for Quake Champions, obviously.
Yep, do that, print money, easy. It's just not anymore. Like, it's changed. So just think differently. Do not just go through the same cookie-cutter approach, because it's not even assured you're going to make money anymore. So, you know.
What is like, just do something that's wildly different, because, hey, you could fail anyway, so just take this wild risk.
Yeah, spend $1 million and just fail.
Ejection seat on a helicopter businesses. Hey, he's like, I know it sounds a little risky, but go ahead and do it. You might fail anyway. It's like some things are just, I mean,
ironically, Matt Lees' presentation about not being cookie cutter is actually a cookie cutter presentation.
Yeah. None of these are really new arguments. I mean, maybe the Animal Crossing thing was pretty new to me. I've never heard that before. But
yeah, that's bizarre.
It's the same concept, really. It teaches people to be victims and disenfranchised, and then you'll have your audience.
Yeah.
Bad stuff. As I say, open the mind or die. Finally, a final call to arms.
Matt?
Just try and
open your mind or die, he says,
that's
after
not
blocking
funny.
people on Twitter and disabling YouTube comments.
I don't think he's joking. You know, when he says stuff like that, I don't think he's joking.
Mind or die. That's what I need to get a picture of. Just your comments have been disabled for this video, and that quote: "Open your mind or die."
Yeah.
Well, you have been blocked by such and such. It's like, open your mind.
Boy. Yeah.
Rediscover play. I got really caught up. I started realizing I probably shouldn't use photographs that I didn't own, so I just started putting my own photographs in. That's me with worse hair.
Not possible.
Play is cool. Like, play is at the heart of games. People bang on about games being about systems and mechanics and engagement, and it's nonsense. The heart of games is...
What? Okay.
Games shouldn't be games. They should be political orgies.
Awful mechanics and all that, and you see how great your fucking...
is play, and games forget that way too often. Play allows us to play with ourselves, play with
here is
roles,
so
change, have a lot of fun. Games are more than loops and distractions. And I think we've seen this with like the resurgence of board games. You know, I run one of the biggest board game websites in the world, and it's just getting bigger and bigger every year. It's awesome. But it's because people want more from games. They don't want to just sit and collect 1,000 gold cats and then level up. That's nonsense.
Pausing. Yeah,
they do though. Actually, as we can
see. They do. You know, it's true that people want variety. That's why PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has quickly surpassed Dota 2 and Overwatch and all these
that take on the shooters.
Yeah, it was something new. You know, it's something new. Like, they're tired of the Quake style shooter. That's why Quake Champions, you know, while it's got a decent population, is nowhere what it would have been, say, you know, 15 years ago. That's done. You know, that's done. Just like World of Warcraft is done. No one wants to play World of Warcraft anymore. Yeah, it might have, you know, 4 million people still playing it, sure, but you know,
I don't know if I'd scoff at 4 million people.
Yeah, but it's not, you know, like other people try to make a World of Warcraft ripoff, and they don't really do well because people will they'll say like, why don't I just play World of Warcraft? You know, like why am I playing something new here? And why do I have to start from zero again? Kind of sucks. So they want something new, they want something different, and that's why certain games do better than others. And I don't think the way to engage people is to make a game that nobody's asking for. You know, no one wants walking simulators. Like after they played Firewatch, I think that was it. You know, because like Gone Home was like the peak.
Yeah,
and then Firewatch was like second coming.
But Battle Royale style modes, you know, when it comes to PUBG and its popularity, that was something that people wanted, and you could see that in the popularity of the mods and H1Z1 King of the Kill being way more popular than what it was originally supposed to be. And that was a fresh and interesting take on typical team deathmatch shooters that people really wanted to have done well and competently by someone who was passionate, a company that was passionate about it. And you do that at the right time, and bam, you sell 60,000 copies a day.
Just like Ark Survival Evolved, no one had done it quite as well as they did, right? With like people were playing Minecraft and they were playing Minecraft in multiplayer, but nothing that, you know, that allowed them to have quite the amount of freedom as Ark Survival Evolved, which is why it was super fucking huge at the time, and it still is really big. I mean, people run lots of private servers where they create their own worlds. I mean, there's like a cyberpunk called Dragonpunk, I think, and those are huge. But you know, as soon as all these other companies start coming in and they're like, oh yeah, we're just like Ark Survival Evolved, or you know, like what's the name of that game?
Like, oh, then I'll just play Ark Survival Evolved.
Exactly, and then there's these other companies that are now trying to do the Battle Royale thing. You know, there's
they see that
GTA Online has Battle Royale mode now.
Yeah, like GTA Online has it, which I think is fine because it's GTA Online.
Fortnite,
Fortnite's doing it. Fortnite, it's like that's quite a surprise, and I think that's gonna fail because Fortnite really, I mean, the game is bad. Like, I played it, so it's actually kind of bad. Sorry.
The loyalist in chat, Rags, you should do a co-op with Sargon. I've done a live stream with him, so you can check my videos for that. But it was good. It was really good. I liked it.
Tell Sargon I said hi. Like, Sargon, if you're watching, I'm just saying hi because you've been banned from Twitter, so I don't get to see you that often.
Just go talk to him on Gab.
Or talk to him on Gab there.
Oh yeah, I forgot I have a Gab account. You can follow me there.
I had to hurry up and claim my name there, so there you go.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. So they want social experiences. Games can and should be about people, and that doesn't matter if it's a multiplayer game or a single-player game. Games should be about people and how we interact with the world. That is why children play. That is the.
I don't know if children play because it's about people. First off, when you say children should be about people, what exactly do you mean when you say that?
My nephew, when he hasn't done it really lately, more like when he was 11, he would do one of those tap games where you just have, I don't even know what's on the screen, just some blob just some blob on his iPad screen, and you just tap the shit out of it. That's the whole game, if you can even call it a game. So
clicker games, you just tap this and watch numbers appear from the place where you tapped.
Yeah, that's, you know.
That's a thing that people are making money from. So there you go. There are apps for digital fidget spinners which are making money because Western society is just, I don't know. We have our moments.
The function of play is so children can learn to be people, and I think that adults can learn to be people as well. And I think finally, we can and should try and just work towards a future where next time something like this happens, because history is circular and it will happen again, we should try and work towards a future where the people who play games are the first bastion against fascism, rather than like the first people who are like, yeah, let's be fascists. And I think that's like
right there. That's the social engineering that he wants.
Insane. Yeah, that's what he wants.
You just sneak into fascism.
That's as explicit as you're ever gonna get with him. Make these video games. Please make these video games that make these people
not be because now that I've labeled gamers as gamergaters as fascists, and people is like, I don't think
your video game should fight my ideological battle.
These people have never been to a fascist country. They don't know what fascism is, because if they knew what it was, they wouldn't be slinging that word around so casually. Like, everything's fascist. Like, you have no idea what that is. You have no idea. He's like, if you lived in a fascist society, this presentation would be verboten, strictly.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't have any of these conversations. He wouldn't be allowed to talk. He would be told to shut the fuck up with a gun pointed at him.
He'd be fucking thrown in a
boy. I kind of wish for a fascist society now.
Like, these people think that they're going to be friends of the fascist establishment. It's like, no, you're the one. You're the loudmouths you're the loudmouth screaming, and there's going to be something. If you want to live in a fascist society, you shut the hell up. Is what you do. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
You don't. These people think they're going to be card-carrying party members, and that's going to be their job. They don't think they're going to be workers laboring in the fields until they die at 50. Is like. They don't. It's like, it's not going to be us who have to kill and eat the dog. It's not real. # not real fascism.
To do that, it's not. Is that so much to ask? It really shouldn't be so much to ask. And that's it. Thank you very much.
And that's it. Thank you.
Make games so that people won't be fascists. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, that's retarded.
He spent a long time on that.
I will now be taking questions from the audience. No, you won't. No, you won't, Matt. You absolutely won't.
Go away.
There it is.
We fucking made it.
We
fucking made it.
We had to skip around because there's too much bullshit that's packed into a 32-minute video for that. We've been streaming for 3 hours and 20 minutes.
3 hours.
So let me go through these super chats real quick. Let me see. Raxum42 gave $2. They want you to growl, Rags. Congratulations, because some of that stuff was retarded.
Yes,
Tacoon,
it was.
513. $10 more. Thank you, Tacoon. Again, man, I feel like such a high school girl when Rags Chan says my name. Blushes. Thanks very much, Tacoon. I'm glad I make you feel that way. That's really the point. This is all one big plot to make people feel like high school girls. And, of course, to make people either gay or zoophiles. Nemesis gave me $5. Ian, DC Comics is getting bad too. Wonder Woman using mansplaining. Power Girl reconned as a black woman like Iron Man.
I didn't think it was that big a deal. Like, I mean, it's not widespread. Maybe 1 or 2 comics.
Soul Reaver gave $2. I want a horror game inspired by MGS One Tricks. That would be a solid One Tricks, I guess. But, hey, who knows? Hey, make it, Soul Reaver. Yeah, if you think there's a market for it, don't be like Matt Lees. Don't be sad like Knives. But thanks very much to Coon, Nemesis, Raxum, all you guys, Kekistan, and Alex, Tuni, Vienskis, Zeke, and all you guys. Thanks very, very much. I appreciate all that. But I was... Thanks. This was kind of... It was sort of good to just listen to some of this nonsense and poke fun of it because you can't do it in the comment section of the video itself. Because
it gets something off my chest for sure, and I think anyone who sat through this thing with us from start to finish.
What I concluded with my video, what I concluded was that Matt Lees is someone who would want to deplatform anyone who supports Gamergate or any of that. We've already established that, but the game of the show, the PC game of the show that won the game was Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance, developed by Warhorse Studios. And Warhorse Studios has developers who supported Gamergate. So if Matt Lees had his way, that game, Kingdom Come Deliverance, would have never been able to be shown at Gamescom.
Last Night wouldn't exist. Kingdom Come Deliverance wouldn't exist. All these problematic games that aren't about people and are about pesky mechanics is like don't expect to see those because they're
so we can so we can take a little solace in the fact that he probably does have a little influence in the industry, but I think for the most people, for companies like Rockstar, they're not influenced by idiots like this.
No, they don't give a shit.
You look at the like and dislike ratio of these videos, it's overwhelmingly negative, and he has to disable comments, and he has to block people on Twitter. You can have the ear of the industry, at upper echelons as much as you want, but if the consumer's not behind you, then that amounts to failed projects and experiments that never work out. And eventually, no matter what your ideological position is, you're going to have to one day capitulate entirely to the people who give you the money.
Yes. In the end, it's going to be the market that decides, and people are going to make games that they're going to try and get into social justice and all that, but the market is going to decide. And BioWare is obviously one of the leading companies jumping into social justice head first, and they're taking a hit with their recent games. So
think about it. Social justice could have killed Mass Effect. Like
it could have.
The series, it is dead in part. It's not a.
The Andromeda is never continuing. That's done. Yeah,
it's just
they might have to reboot
the degree that it had to play in that, and that pisses me off. I love Mass Effect so much.
Maybe concentrate on things other than socially engineering society through your game. Maybe concentrate on making a good freaking game.
Yeah.
Identity politics are a waste of time, and if you focus on them too hard, you're not going to have any fun in life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, video game. I mean, it's like what's his name from Nintendo said, video games are about fun. If it's not fun, then why make it? It's not fun, why bother? Reggie.
I think
Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie.
Yeah,
Reggie
that's the
said
right
that.
idea. If the video game is not fun, then what's the point? Video games should be fun, and that fun is had through fair mechanics that are challenging, that encourage exploration, or that are just satisfying. It's not about some underlying political or ideological message in it. So,
correct.
3 hours 25 minutes. Oof, I'm ready for a.
We solved the gaming industry's problems,
well,
right?
This is it. So if you guys ever have an argument you need to win about literally everything, you're gonna have the link to this live stream soon. So this will be posted up live. I won't post this to the Goof Off channel. So this will be here if you need to see it. And thanks again for all the support that you guys gave me through Super Chat. I really appreciate that in these very tumultuous YouTube times. It's kind of harrowing knowing that you never know when it just might come and hit you. So thanks a lot, Ian, and thanks a lot, Nick, and thanks a lot, Brad. Their Twitters are down in the description, and you could find their YouTube channels through there. So subscribe to Ian and Brad and Nick. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I'm more of a Twitter guy. Follow me on Twitter, and then watch me go through the trail of tears of demonetizations.
Trail of tears. That is gonna demonetize us right here. You can't talk about the Trail of Tears. But thanks, thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks, Brad, Ian, and Nick, for being on. And I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
It was a lovely evening.
It was.
Thank you for inviting me.
But it is dark now, and I'm sitting alone in a dark room in front of all of a sudden, a very bright screen. So I will catch y'all later. Thanks for stopping by.
Later.
Bye.